in the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom bada boom ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right, baby let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
Mario, your kosher clinician. I've said in the past that needs actually drives behaviors. And under Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there are two base elements that most human beings need for survival. Those base elements are food, water, clothing, and shelter, but also the need to have security and protection. This show is a response to something that I've talked about in the past, and the essence of this show will more or less center around the global reset that's coming. And also, we need to ask ourselves the question, what would happen if tomorrow never comes? But before I start the show, I want to thank the people that donated to Cash App and PayPal last week. I want to thank my man, brother Stephen Mocha Man Brown. I want to thank Dr. O. McCoy. I want to thank Michael Green. I want to thank J.S. Huggins. And I want to thank the always reliable Mr. Melody. Shout out to you, brother. And everybody else that have more or less donated to PayPal or Cash App in the past, as your support is greatly appreciated as we bring clinical content more or less centered around human art. But back to topic. Kevin Samuels talked about something called winter is actually coming. And there's a winter as it relates to our lives, but also there's a winter that's coming soon as it relates to human beings and the human condition. Now, I want you guys to ask yourself the question, will this global reset cause many to go in a state of despair and depression? Will they get their needs met? As we know, or as I know in clinical psychology, there are such things as risk factors and protective factors. The risk factors are those things that where people don't have food, water, clothing, and shelter, or they live in bad neighborhoods, or they lack employment. When the global pandemic hit a couple of years ago, or a year ago, many of the jobs that came on the scene would never come back again. And because of that, I'm going to challenge some of you women. Do you lack the femininity to get the type of men that you want to help cover you and protect you in this time of crisis? Or will you become despondent, angry, combative, and not cooperate with a solid or a great man that's willing to love you, die for you, and protect you? I want you guys to ask yourself the question, if winter comes or if tomorrow never comes, where do you stand at this current nexus in human history? The global reset is coming, and actually the global reset is here. Are you prepared to get your needs met, or are you still in a state of more or less delusion? I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show as I bring it to you live from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green. And whereas men, we don't agree on all things, but we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate once the crisis is over. And there's a crisis in this world. And to those that are pure in heart and to those that are willing to work and more or less lay aside all petty bickering, then they're going to get their needs met. Enjoy this show, ponder the question, and ask yourself the question once again, what happens if tomorrow never comes? Be well.
That's all we can do, basically.
In Arlington, Allie's.
Earlier this week, we had a story from our consumer reporter, Deanna Zoga, explaining that despite a federal moratorium on evictions, they could still happen here in Texas. Today, we were there as that nightmare happened to an Arlington woman who thought she had done what she needed to do to protect her family. Here's Allie Spilliards.
Though the U-Haul's nearly packed, Alexis Hatcher has no idea what comes next.
And I found out yesterday when I came home, I had a red notice on my door saying I had 24 hours to vacate. Myself and my 5-year-old, mind you.
Hatcher says she fell behind on rent at her Arlington apartment after her retail job was deemed non-essential. But thanks to a federal moratorium on evictions, she thought she had a safety net. Court documents for her eviction case show Hatcher filed the necessary CDC declaration saying she faced homelessness and had applied for rent assistance. Still this week, a judge allowed for the eviction to move forward, following new guidance from the Texas Justice Court Training Center, saying courts don't have to enforce the federal order after the Texas Supreme Court allowed the states to expire.
It was devastating. It was literally devastating because I did everything the judge told me to do. I followed all of her instructions. I followed the guidelines, and I'm still not protected.
This is the unfortunate reality for a lot of people, is there is nothing she can do.
Dallas attorney Mark Melton believes Hatcher's eviction could be the first under this new guidance. He and a team of 250 lawyers have provided pro bono assistance to thousands of tenants throughout the pandemic. He worries many of them could find themselves in Hatcher's position, some while waiting for help from the state's billion-dollar rent relief program that's been slow to roll out.
That's not only unjust, it's not right.
Still, he's encouraging those facing eviction to continue applying in hopes the judge in their cases will follow federal guidelines, even if for Hatcher, it's too late.
Tonight, we're just gonna pray. That's all we can do, basically.
In Arlington, Allie Spilliards, NBC5.
With that CDC order still in place, landlords who move forward with evictions could face a federal penalty. Today, we reached Hatcher's apartment complex by phone, but we're still waiting on a response. Now, if you are facing eviction and need help, we have linked several resources on our website. Just click on this story at nbcdfw.com.
Eric Spencer. The question is, what happens if tomorrow never comes? Now, listen, guys, this show is going to highlight a more or less centered around the global reset. Kevin Samuels talked about winter is coming for many boys and girls, but especially a lot of our women, as they don't have the proper covering. I want you guys to think about, and so to the guys that are actually listening, to someone that's been impacted by the pandemic, I want you guys to come in and more or less talk about how it impacted you mentally. But we have two distinguished guests from BMO. We have a man, Eric Spencer. I call him Deacon Eric Spencer. And we have a man, Chris Strongheart. He is a facilitator of Bitcoin. And we're going to be talking about solutions on tonight as it relates to the global reset. So, Eric Spencer, I want you to more or less tell the audience who you are. And I want you to talk about the moratorium as you are a renter to multiple people.
Yes, I'm Eric Spencer, admin at the Black Men's Option. Come check us out on Facebook, formerly known as the Charles Tyler's Travel Group. And, you know, it's an unfortunate shame about what's going on, but you can't force landlords to pay somebody else's rent with no compensation. And when they did this, they just automatically assumed everybody was going to pay. But people still have to pay taxes on these properties. People still have to maintain these properties. People still have bills associated with these properties. At the same time, they're not collecting rent. And I understand some of the lockdown guidelines were out there, but we're past that. The CDC doesn't have the authority to tell landlords that you have to let somebody stay in your house.
Right.
And what you're starting to see is these states are evicting these people. Now, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, the feds can't tell you what to do with your personal property either. They're overstepping their boundaries. And in that little segment that you just played, when you talk about the feds are going to somehow penalize landlords, that's not going to happen. That's going to be ruled unconstitutional. You're already seeing it being pushed back in some of these big cities. And the impact of that is going to be monumental, because you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be out. They're going to be homeless. at the same time that they're trying to introduce these new lockdowns, and you're just creating a bigger problem. And like the lady in the clip, she don't have anywhere to go, and you're going to see more and more and more of that, because our system isn't designed for the amount of homelessness that's going to occur.
Right.
And the economy and the conditions that we're currently under is making everything worse.
Right. Right. Excellent. Excellent. You know, Eric, you are more or less, once again, a renter. And what type of solutions are you giving to the people that can't more or less pay their rent? How are you more or less being the bridge for those people? And what is your deadline as it relates to them paying their rent?
Well, fortunately, my renters fall under the Section 8. So they've been getting their stipends from the state throughout this whole pandemic. And they've been paying their portions as well. Now, I've been able to work with some to make sure that, hey, I can give you a deadline to pay your portion of the rent. And so far, they've been able to maintain. I've had one tenant that I've had to sometimes put in a position to pay, but she's been paying. And the other renters, she's paying because she knows that, hey, I don't have anywhere else to go. And the rents out here are just astronomical.
Right.
I mean, the rents are beyond most people. The average working person can't afford rents now in an apartment, let alone a house.
Right.
So, you're between a rock and a hard place. And, I haven't increased my rents, so I make it manageable. But at the same time, you're getting government assistance.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people out here aren't. And they're still having to pay $11, $12, $13, $1,400. And and that's on the low end.
Right.
It's like I said, it's just unfortunate, but this is the society and that has been created.
Now, not only is winter is coming, but also it's a potential, Eric, that there could be an uptick in crime. How do you think this is going to impact a lot of our women that are single and don't have the coverings of a husband? And to piggyback on what has been more or less talked about and this spirit that we have as men, do you see a great collusion as women? Some women are going to be putting on those fake masks to more or less cajole men back into relationships.
The crime rate has already been steadily rising. You've seen in a lot of these big metropolities, Atlanta, Dallas, Chicago, DC, Maryland area, crime has already been skyrocketing. And we haven't even gotten to the winter yet.
Right.
And if you don't have a man per se, then you're going to be an easy target.
Right.
Because that's who they're going to prey on.
Mm-hmm.
If they see you with the man, yes, that's not going to be a automatic stopping of them approaching you, but it's damn sure going to be a deterrent because everybody knows criminals are going to choose easy targets.
Right.
And a woman and a child is a lot easier target than a man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that women can't defend themselves because they can.
Right.
But the vast majority of them don't want to be put in that position to do so.
Shout out to Jamal from Scotland Neck. What's up, brother? And thank you, Mr. Huggins. You always donate, and I appreciate it, man. And so to the people that are listening, get the likes up. This is going to be a great show because the question remains, what happens if tomorrow never comes? And if you like what we're doing, please donate to Seven Smalls and also donate to PayPal. And also share my content as we seek to grow in this current trend because winter is coming. And, this is August, and winter will be here in another, 3 more months, right, Eric? 3 to 4 more months.
Well, I'm going to tell you like this.
Yeah.
There's the term cuffing season.
Yeah, cuffing season.
Cuffing season usually starts around after Labor Day, October and stuff and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Brother, cuffing season is already upon us. Matter of fact, ever since COVID showed up, cuffing season has been on tilt.
Right.
And now with this eviction memorandum expiring today, oh man, cuffing season is going to be full beast mode.
Right, and I agree. But the key remains to the guys that don't know what their options are. It could be actually dangerous, and we're going to talk about that tonight. But once again, the question remains: what happens if tomorrow never comes? Because this global pandemic took a lot of people by surprise. A lot of people thought those jobs were going to come back. They were once here, Eric and Chris Barksdale. They thought they were going to have the life that they once had in the past. And you know, and I know, Eric, that some of the greatest people that are being more or less impacted by this are often women in the government sectors. And unfortunately, some of those women were the same women that more or less shamed men to say, you know, I don't need a man. I'm strong and independent. Chris Barksdale, tell the audience who you are. And I want you to more or less give a panoramic view of what you can more or less anticipate using your cancer intuition. Call you Aquaman about the coming, Chris, the coming global pandemic and reset number 2 or pandemic number 2. Talk to the audience and tell them who you are, Chris, and tell them what you see based on the area where you're from.
All right. What's good, everybody? Chris Strong Art. You can contact me at chrisstrongart.com. You can see my work. I do designs, logos, illustrations, the whole nine. And right now it's looking grim, man. It's looking pretty bad. I mean, we're starting to see this second variant that they're calling the Delta variant is coming around. So, I mean, we're dealing with the initial outbreak of the COVID situation. Now they're stepping it up to the second level and all these different things, regardless of how you feel about the variant and all that stuff or not. I mean, it's here and it's something that we are having to deal with. And like you said, it's like winter is coming. I mean, that's definitely where we at right now. Winter's definitely coming. And I say it's coming a lot faster than I think people realize. I mean, there was a lot of talk going around about, hey, you know, we don't need men, you know, we'll be just fine, this and that. But I don't know. I mean, it's starting to look a little tight in some places. I mean, right now, I'm out here near Fayetteville. I'm on the outskirts of Fayetteville right now. And it's I don't wander around in Fayetteville too much, by the way, but I'm just saying is that it's looking a little tight right now in some areas. I mean, I definitely hear a different tone going around. Everybody's trying to figure things out, like what can we do? How can we step it up and, you know, save this and save that? Do we need to stock up on different food supplies and stuff like that? I mean, it's definitely a realness to what's going on. So how bad is it really gonna get? I don't know. To be completely honest, but it's looking wild right now. The whole situation to me is looking real messy, and hopefully they can find a man who wants to cover some of these single ladies out here who at one point thought they didn't need a man, and let's see now if they change that tone up a little bit.
Right. With many of these jobs being replaced in the future with automation, we know that's going to be something problematic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you, Eric, and then also Chris, have you had some women knocking on your door with the big head text, more or less trying to get back in good graces with you? And if they have, how have you guys more or less responded?
Well, I haven't. I've received text, and I just don't respond. I've also had some Facebook. Hey, how you doing? It's time for me to come see you, or something to that effect. And I just kind of laugh because, you know, it's rough out here.
It is.
It really is. It's rough out here for someone that thought that they had it going on and they didn't need anybody, blah 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 blah, and all the talk and rhetoric that we've heard for the years. And it came at the worst time because you have in this intersectionality that they like to use so much, but it's not in their favor. You have the automation, the government trying to force lockdowns. You have the red pill, Black Manosphere, Kevin Samuels and other brothers that have been speaking out and moving towards that direction and getting educated on what's really going on. And you also have the ability to access all this information in the palm of your hands. So the veil has been lifted. And like I said, it's at the worst time because your government is not in a position to keep holding you up anymore.
Right.
And the jobs that you thought that you had are not coming back.
Right.
Retail is taking a major hit, and a big majority of women work in those retail jobs. And the jobs that are out here are jobs that men do. Excuse me.
Right.
The infrastructure, we're talking about construction, transportation, HVAC, plumbing. Those types of jobs are in huge demand, which typically women don't do those jobs. So if you're not in that field, or you don't have that background, and you don't know how to pivot, you're stuck. And just like that woman on your opening, she got evicted and she didn't have any place to go.
Right.
And she's relying on the court. She says she did everything right. Well, apparently you didn't, because you thought that you didn't need a man. And I'm not saying a man is gonna be the end all be all, but you're a single mother.
Right.
Where's the daddy at? Where's the guy that you chose to have a child with? Because I guarantee you, if you weren't working, then maybe he could have been working to help ease that burden and you wouldn't be getting put out. But you chose that you didn't need that man in your life outside of him contributing. And like I said, I don't know the story, so I don't want to judge, but I'm just using an example.
Right.
And you sitting there looking destitute on the news, thinking somebody gonna come help you because you have been conditioned for Big Daddy to come get you. And now Big Daddy's like, no, I can't do nothing for you.
Right. It sounds like to me, Eric, that a lot of our people, especially our women, have been hoodwinked. And then I realized that their greatest source of protection was a great or decent man to love and cover them. Chris, before this global reset that we had, tell the audience what you saw, or how did it impact you initially when it first happened? And what type of mental issues did you go through when it hit you initially?
Well, when the pandemic situation first started, luckily for me, I was overseas. Okay, so I was out there contracting, working, and I was kind of watching everything from a distance. All right. And I was kind of seeing the whole situation. Actually, when it really, really first started out, I was on vacation in Brazil, of course. And right before they started locking stuff down, I was there before the last Carnival. I literally was leaving I think it was February was the last one.
Yes.
I believe it was February. Yeah, like that week, I was there that whole month. And then that week, as I was flying back out over to Afghanistan, I was they started locking stuff down. So by the time I got back over in country, they was putting the clamps on everything. So for me, it was kind of like shifting up my whole paradigm. Like, what's going on out here? Like, what y'all doing? They talk about COVID. I was like, COVID? What you mean? That stuff that's way out in China? What you talking about? They were like, no, it's spreading. It's doing this and it's doing that. And then the whole hysteria just went out of control. I'm just looking at people like they crazy. I'm like, man, I'm just on the beach. What you mean pandemic? What? No, man, it's cool. Like, this can't be. And then they started talking about, oh, well, we're gonna shut down all the vacations. I was like, oh no, you're not. I'm getting out of here. No, sir. No. Like, you're not going to worry about vacations, buddy. I'm going back to the beach. You can't have it. So, that was more or less my situation when it came to, because I was dealing with it from that perspective on how they started changing things out there overseas for us contractors. It was still a beast because, our whole eating situation, like they closed down what we call the dining halls. So you couldn't go in there and sit down. You had to go through the line, get a plate, go back to your office, sit down, eat. They had the soldiers wearing masks. We didn't have to wear masks and stuff like that. But there were some places where they had people working wearing masks, and it was a whole craziness, man. It was wild. But as far as you mentioned the whole hey big head text thing situation, like I ain't really got like a whole lot of hey big head texts, but I will say I definitely have still been getting lit up from my last journey down south in Brazil, though. I'll tell you that. He still texting, boy. He still texting.
On to the bank.
It's been more than that. They hit you with that bon dia. I'm like, oh, hey, bon dia, what's good? And then they just done that when I say, what you doing when you coming back? They sending pictures. I'm like, oh my God, stop it. Like, that's the hey big head text I've been getting because like it just make it. Brothers who ask me about going down there, I tell them, I said, before you go, your heart need to be in the right place. I'm trying to tell you because you're gonna be tested. You will be tested, especially when you get back and you just like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna go back. Oh, they gonna help you make your mind up. They gonna be texting. Hey, what you doing? What's good?
Real quick.
Well,
those are the hey big head texts I've been getting. They've been coming.
Gotcha. But this global pandemic impacted a lot of people, and it also impacted some people psychologically. And I saw an uptick in referral cases with this global pandemic because this pandemic, to many, they thought that the world would return back to the way it was. But the topic of the show is what happens once again if tomorrow never comes, because I'm sure that there were some that were in denial, and there are some that are still in denial. Deacon Eric Spencer, because they don't believe that the fat meat is greasy, and I can smell it cooking on that black skillet in Eastern North Carolina. They don't believe the fat meat greasy.
Man, go
ahead. They don't believe it. They don't believe it's greasy, Eric.
Look. Tomorrow is August 1st, and you notice you ain't really been hearing much about this hot girl summer.
Right.
The hot girl summer been real cool this summer. And let me tell you, I was in the gym. Well, I was in the gym today, but Tuesday I was in the gym, and let me tell you something. Becky and Marisol and Maylin getting the squat game on tilt. They're not in the Zumba class jumping around and stuff. They in here on the squat rack getting it in. And I'm telling you right now, they out here show nothing. Bro, they coming for your men.
Right.
And they just don't believe it. Right. They don't believe the fat meat greasy. This winter, bro, like I said, get your popcorn back and watch.
Right.
Because all of this stuff that's going on, this mental illness stuff that you're talking about with what's going on with the pandemic, it's real. It's play out in the media. You have these women fighting on airplanes, this bonnet, and all this other stuff that they're using.
Guys, mute your mic. Mute your mic, guys. While Eric is talking, y'all mute your mics, please. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
The bonnet stuff, all this dress and stuff is dysfunctional, and they're drinking more, they're smoking more, the stress levels is up, and we haven't even reached August yet. So you can imagine when September comes, and then you talk about the holidays. You looking for a place to stay. You got to deal with your children going to school. You may or may not have a job, and you may be in a city or a state where they're going to try to lock you down, and you don't have any place to stay or no money coming in. And the holidays coming up, and the holiday is even worse because it's that time of the year. And a lot of people are going to have to, and not just women, men too. Some of these men too, they're going to have to be mentally strong or get ready for what's coming on both sides, because you're going to see something that most people that have lived in the States and never traveled out of the States that they've never seen before.
Right.
You're going to start seeing the United States start looking like a third world country.
Right.
And all this stuff about you traveling to these third world countries, sweetheart, United States is going to be a third world country. They can't stop it. They're already not prosecuting
Johns.
Yeah, well, no, the solicitation of prostitutes, sex workers. They're already doing it in New York, and you're starting to see the police ignore it. And as soon as they figure out a way to tax it, it's over and done with. It's over and done with. Marriage is pretty much dead. You've killed it, and you're starting to see the results of all this stuff. And women thought everything was hunky dory. And the other thing too, the pushback. You voted with the alphabet community and all these other things. You voted against your interests. Now you're starting to see they're occupying your space and taking your resources and your shine. And now you don't like it. You're pushing back.
Right.
You've just been used. Right. And all this stuff is going on, and things that we tried to tell you that were going to happen, you didn't believe. Right. And now you're saying that, oh well, we're back. We're bashing. No, we're not. These are facts. These are things that you can go Google right now. There's a video of a woman having sex in New York in the middle of the street, and nobody's saying anything. Right. There's a video with the ad where the woman is putting out on Craigslist that she just need a place to stay, and she's willing to do anything within reason.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, exactly. So that big head text that you're talking about, now it's going to be more like a big head ad, because winter is coming. And yeah, that's what it's going to be. I'm advertising. And then, so when you start talking about that, now you have to come back and say, you're competing in a market that's flooded. You're competing in a market that's flooded because there are more women. So now we get back to the basic root. Are you attractive? Am I attracted to you? And with 80% overweight, sweetheart, you're not even in the market.
Right. No, you're correct. Guys, listen to the ones that are listening. Get the likes up, please. Thank you, guys. I'm forever honored for the supporters of this show. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. If you like what I'm doing, donate to $7 Smalls. Let's get this movement going. I want to expand this channel because this is going to be a mental health crisis. Share my content with at least 20 people. Tell them to subscribe to the Coach Clinician as we seek to grow this channel. And if some of you guys are going through any mental health issues, I'm going to start doing non-diagnostic consultations, meaning I'm not going to diagnose you, but I am going to give you consultation to help you deal with whatever issue that you're having from a clinical perspective. Now, listen, we got the Honorable, the Conscious Crab. He's actually stationed in New York. He's in New York. He's a personal trainer. He's going to be talking about some of the healthy things that you can do. But before we talk about that, Gene, I want you to go back in time when this global pandemic phase 1 hit. And I want you to tell the audience what you saw, how you coped, but also what you're seeing now.
Man. So when the pandemic hit, there's a guy that lives near where I live. He's in Riverdale, which is like less than a mile from where I'm at. And he was the first known case of COVID in New York. And he gave it to his family and a bunch of co-workers. And, this is New York, man. I'm just like, okay, how is this going to go here? And before you knew it, it was like rush hour is like people are like packed in worse than sardines on the trains, on the buses. It was a ghost town, bro. New York became a ghost town overnight. The sad thing is that in the areas that I have to go into for work, it's affluent. And so a lot of these affluent people, they went out to their summer homes, and a lot of them moved out. But if you went to, so where I'm at, you have the 1, the 2, and the 3 line, the 4 and the 5. But the 2 and the 3, once you get above 96th Street, it's in the predominantly minority neighborhoods. And then going into Brooklyn, same thing. Now those trains, even when COVID was, bad, people were still riding those trains. These were like, the black blue collar workers, and people were just getting sick like crazy. It was a while before people just stopped as far as blacks and Latinos just stopped riding the trains. Like white people were off the trains way before blacks and Latinos, and it explains why the rates of COVID were so much higher in New York amongst blacks and Latinos. People were freaking out on Asian people because it was the Wuhan virus, according to to Trump, and I mean people were just freaking out, like they didn't want Asian people near them, yelling and screaming at them on the trains and whatnot. So like New York City, a city of 8 million people, man, almost overnight, it was a ghost town. Like you could ride the train and be on a car by yourself almost any hour of the day. And I can't even tell you how crazy that is. Like you'd have to have some experience with being here to understand, because New York is a city that never sleeps. I could jump on the train at any time in the morning, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and there are people on that train. But here it was, I was riding because I kept training people in the parks and stuff, and I kept training, so I kept training people. So I'm going downtown, I'm riding the trains, and I'm by myself most of the time, or there's maybe 1 or 2 people on the train with me in a city of 8 million people. It was just like some Twilight Zone. It was unbelievable. I never experienced anything like that. I didn't expect it to ever, get that bad. And then you start hearing about people dying. Like there are people that I went to school with that died. Nobody that I know here in the city died, but a lot of people that I knew growing up, a few of them, died. And you could see like the people that were dying were usually, the people that are overweight, that don't work out, that don't eat right, they're eating all this fast food and whatnot. Like there's a clear delineation between those who took care of themselves and those, who didn't, as far as like outcomes. I knew a lot of people that got sick, a lot of people, but they all lived here in the city. Like all the affluent people lived. I don't know one who died. And I know a lot of affluent people here because it's my business to know them. Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Mr. Gigi, brother, how you doing, sir? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you perfect. Right. And so we're talking about how the global pandemic impacted a lot of people. And the topic of the show, once again, what happens if tomorrow never comes? I want you to go back in time. My moderator on the show would, but I want you to go back in time and tell the audience what you saw. Tell the audience the trends that you're seeing, actually, because I think you're in the mortgage business, and tell the audience your prognostication for the future.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you guys hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah. Let me know if there's any sound issues. Anyways, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I've been on several StreamYards, man, really going on this topic, man. A lot of guys from the manosphere, like he was saying earlier, red pillars, big time travel, black pillars, right? Even guys are not taking pills, right? This thing's getting out there. And what I was telling people a while back was this, that COVID-19 exposed people and businesses for who they really were. You understand? I was telling not only my students, because I do have students, but also individuals who had these jobs over for 20 plus years, to create an income if in the event someone fires you, that job gets closed. If you get evicted, something happens. And the first thing these individuals would tell me, I'm not going anywhere. They can't fire me or whatever, right? These are guys who are in the government sector, non-government sector, or whatever. And soon enough, boom, overnight, jobs, man, that got bankruptcy, Chapter 17. They're calling me up on the phone. Hey, can you teach me that real estate stuff or whatever? And I was telling these guys, they were seeing me, man, I was making so much assignment fees, man, $5 grand, $10 grand, hell, 40 grand, right? You know, average just regular assignments fees per deal, no money out of pocket, no cash, no credit. I'm not a landlord. I don't, you know, rent out a property and bankroll off that. No, no, it's a totally different ballgame. And they did not take it seriously at the time. And not only that, but also if you peep this out closely, there's been a lot of freelance jobs popping out of the woodworks where people can work for themselves. For example, there's a company called Fiverr, Fiverr.com, Guru.com, and Upwork, okay? Those are freelancing opportunities where people can work for themselves and don't have to work for an employee. If they got a special skill or whatever they're doing, they don't have to work for a paycheck. They don't have to have a supervisor. And so these same people who've been stuck at that 9 to 5 for 10 years, 20 years, right, who's facing eviction, who's facing foreclosure, are now trying to figure out how the hell I actually am going to pay these bills. I've never worked for myself or whatever. Now they have really, truly been exposed for who they are, and especially women, because the first thing, like we always hear them coming out saying, I'm an independent woman. I don't need any man. I don't need no one else's income. I can do this. I can do that. And they're usually like, you know, I had women I was with that were Hispanic Americans, right? And they would have a household full of Hispanic family members. A lot of these family members will take full advantage of the woman because they're expecting that woman to be the breadwinner. Now, when that job shuts down and she doesn't have a resume to produce, guess what? They got to get off their ass and do something, or everybody getting kicked out of there, man. Everybody. But what I'm saying right now is, now that COVID-19 has exposed these companies for who they are, these organizations that are coming out like Uber, Lyft, Fiverr, I mean, there's a lot of them out there that are all freelance where you can work for yourself. They're showing these people, right, that, hey, you got to always create an opportunity if in the event that that job and the government can never, ever take care of you, you at least got a comfortable pillow to bounce on. And that's why, you know, on Master Teacher's channel and some of the other travel channels I go on, we talk about how to create residual income, passive income, so then in the event you cash flow your money here in the States, so you could take your money to another country, and now that money has multiplied 5 times, 10 times, whatever it may be, because your value is stronger in other countries rather than just sitting here in the United States inside of this fish bubble thinking this is the only solution. Hello, can you hear me?
So I can
We can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. I had to unmute myself. So yeah, that's a very powerful point. We talk about a lot of times the deception, once again, from some of our women. What have you experienced, Mr. GG, as it relates to women trying to enter back into your life and more or less trying to bring you back into a relationship?
Okay, sure. So the biggest thing I usually have experienced, or like in my state, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, and a lot of these women, I don't know, I thought I was the only guy on earth flat out experiencing all this toxicity. I did, man, at first, until guys was like popping out of woodwork, like I was telling you before, from other states, from Canada, Orlando. I mean, man, guys was coming from North Carolina. And I thought I was the only one that really experiencing, but no, but I had women do what we call subliminal messages, passive aggressive shit. They'll hit me up in the Facebook Messenger box, right? Like there's women I had sent the message to, hey, how you doing? And they would ghost me. They would disappear on my ass. Dude,
watch your language.
I swear to God.
Mr. G, watch your language. Watch your language,
okay, brother,
sure. Because the algorithm. Watch your language. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, gotcha. Mm-hmm. There would be women, literally, that ghosted me, disappeared, all that stuff, right, for months. I, blocked them, delete them. They would create another account. Hey, why you blocked me? What's going on? Let's hang out or whatever. Like, dude, and this is during COVID-19. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. When Kevin Samuel said the hey big head sex, it's real. It's real. I've had women that want me to come over there and do repairs in their house or show me real estate, want me to teach them more about real estate and all this stuff. No, I don't want no parts of doing it, at all. And yeah, you can't make it up, man. I just do exactly what Eric does. I either ignore it or hey, ask him who the heck is this? I don't know you, or who are you, whatever. And they're shocked, like, you don't know who I am, and all this stuff. So I don't have time for the headache. I'm just more focused on self-improvement in my life.
Fair enough. Once again, the topic is called "What Happens If Tomorrow Comes," as it relates to automation, mental health, and also the potential for increasing crime. Eric Spencer, Deacon Eric Spencer. A lot of men are more or less sitting back, as you said earlier, eating popcorn. And, based on what you've seen in dating trends, do you see humility, or is the arrogance still there?
Oh, the arrogant is still there overall, but it's kind of like they're doubling down because they think something's going to happen and everything's just going to be all right.
Right.
That's what it is, and that's the delusional part. Because if you look at what Mr. GG was saying, it's like, yo, you're in a situation economically that you can't compete. You can't compete with the jobs because of the degrees that you've gotten aren't in the fields where the jobs are. You can't compete because the men that are in those fields now have more options or realizing they have more options. So you have to compete for a man that you feel like that is beneath you. And there's a bit of resentment and a cognitive dissonance because you're not supposed to be better than me. Yet I'm able to date out and get better women within the states because they see what's coming, but they don't. And like I said, I just think they don't believe the fat meat is greasy. That is the best way to say it. And because they hard-headed. That's just the simplest way to put it. They hard-headed. Like I said, hard-headed make a soft behind.
Right.
You run down and get all these Brazilian butt lifts, that ain't gonna save you.
Right.
It just isn't.
Right. And talking about Brazilian butt lifts, there was a trend where many were going to Dominican Republic, getting butt lifts when they could have been taking that money and investing it, like Mr. Gigi was saying. Automation is real, and we're going to talk about automation at some point as the show continues to go on. But automation is real, and once again, a lot of those jobs are not coming back. How are you guys trying to arm yourself to protect yourself and your families? Starting with Eric. And then Gene.
Well, as far as arming myself, as far as
financially, physically, and also mentally.
Oh, well, as far as the financially part, there's another thing that's happening, and we've seen it in 2008, but this time around it's going to be worse. So for me, I'm just stacking paper. These list pennants has already been circulating, and in Florida, in the top 20 cities where they're already starting to file for foreclosures. Mm-hmm. 5 of those cities are in Orlando, and that hasn't even really hit with all these people because a lot of people bought these properties and they over leveraged themselves.
Right.
So we're gonna go through another 2008, but this time there's not going to be any correction because the rates are so low. Mm-hmm. You've already flooded the market with cheap money. They're not going to have a choice but to liquidate that. So I'm looking at buying notes, putting them in my 401k, my Roth IRA, and just moving like that. The crypto game is going to be on point, right. Stacking cash, and businesses are going to be on sale because there's still going to be certain services that you're going to be able to buy.
Right.
And businesses that you're going to be able to buy because a lot of these people don't have the cash to sustain. So they're going to have to either sell or file bankruptcy and get it for the low. Now, as far as the physical and mental part, physically, I'm going to the gym 4 days a week.
Good.
I'm still in beast mode. I'm getting ready for November, but my diet 85% complete, and really now come tomorrow, I'm just going to start tuning it in. I've always been into the gym, the herbs, the detox, fasting, all that stuff is in my trick bag. So I'm good on that part. The mental part of it is really where a lot of people are going to have to buckle down. And I think for the traveling brothers, we're better equipped, because when you travel, there is extreme poverty and other conditions that we don't have in the States per se to that effect, but we understand what it is. Now, coming back to the States, you're starting to see it. We're not used to seeing it on U.S. soil, but we're equipped to handle it a lot better. And we know how we need to move. We need to focus on ourselves, self-improvement, and get the essential things that we need. You need to be around like-minded individuals. You need to have food, water, cash, guns, ammo, because it may get ugly out here, and you may have to defend yourself.
Right.
And a lot of Americans that have never traveled aren't used to the United States being like that. But, you know, and not to be negative, but that's what it is. And you have to prepare yourself mentally for that. You know, I don't want to sound like, you know, it's going to be Terminator 2 and you know, Scott. But there are going to be some things that people are not used to seeing occurring in the States. And if you've never seen anything like that before, it's going to be hard. It's going to have an effect on you. But like I said, your mental health is probably the most important thing. Working out and nutrition is going to aid in that. But you have to really take a black pill perspective and say, this is the reality.
The reality, right. Denial is one of the biggest precursors as it relates to an ego defense mechanism. The conscious crab, you know, you're in New York. You saw this pandemic do devastating things to people mentally. But how are you protecting yourself mentally, physically, and financially? And what were some of the things that you saw in this loaded question that if you didn't have the proper coping skills, you would have fell by the wayside? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. Sorry, I was muted. Here, one of the toughest things was every day, the sirens, all day, every day. You know, ambulance coming to pick people up, take them to the hospital, like between 4 and 6 times a day. It was crazy, and you knew what it meant, that they were coming to get some person with COVID, and you know, seeing the crazy numbers of people dying in New York City. But for me, I'm a little different case from most people when it comes to something like this. I think I told you this, but I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for 24 years. 21 of those years, I made sterile antibiotics and homeopathic drugs in a clean room. So in a clean room, it's the most sterile environment on the planet. So I'll give you a comparison. A hospital operating room is class 10,000. That's 10,000 particles per square foot. I worked in class 100. It's 100 particles per square foot. So an operating room is absolutely filthy compared to a clean room. You know, and when I did that, I not only did I make the drugs, I taught everyone how to make the drugs. I taught aseptic technique, which is how you move in the space. I taught gowning, which is how you gown up to get in the space. They test you for all of this stuff. You have to be able to gown up, go into the space, work, and get out of the space without contaminating the space or the product. Oh, you know, and I did that for 21 years. Now, I never thought I would need those skills, but when COVID hit, who's better than me? There's nobody. Nobody. I have no fear of COVID because I know how to move in spaces that are contaminated in ways that people do not. And it's not even a matter of opinion, because when you're doing this every day, samples of the environment, samples of the drug, and samples off of your person are going to the lab and being tested. And if you contaminate the environment, they can match the bug off of you to the bug in the environment, and they know exactly who did it. And then you have to gown up and go into the environment 3 consecutive times before you're allowed back in the environment to work. So my background prepared me for this in ways that I just never could have imagined.
Right.
So if I was to get COVID, it would be my fault.
Right.
So that's part of the health part. I'm also like my man. Yeah, I'm a personal trainer. I train 5 to 6 days a week. I intermittent fast. Part of my training, I meditate. So this is the thing. Nowadays, people think like they want to meditate the way people did years ago. But years ago, the reason people sat still when they meditated was because, before technology, you had to move to do everything. So to sit and meditate was an opportunity to kind of quiet the mind and be still, because they were never still. We're still all the time. So to meditate, just sit still and meditate is stupid. I meditate in my workouts. So like I concentrate on my breathing, I get into a rhythm, and I just focus on my breathing, and that like centers me. I put on some rhythmic music and I go in for an hour. I do all kinds of stuff. Also the style that I train, it's brain first. It's not body first, it's brain first. There's a very mental aspect to it. And that just allows me, and also having worked 21 years in the pharmaceutical industry and working in a clean room 10, 12 hours a day, there's a level of focus that you need to do that is beyond what is normal. And I still have that. It hasn't gone anywhere. So I'm not easily shook or distracted or affected by stuff, because I know how to lock in on whatever it is that I need to lock in on. As far as financial, I've taken advantage of the fact that people are home, and I can offer them something, very different from a training perspective than what it is that they typically see. Like you've seen some of my videos, but I'm in a completely different lane from 99.9% of the trainers out there. I can do everything they can do, and they can't do any of the stuff that I can do that they don't know. And all of these things are ways to better people, in times of stress, to teach people to focus better, to teach people to establish a relationship between their brain and their body that they don't have now, because technology has separated us from our bodies. People live primarily in their heads, and they don't really know that they're not connected to their bodies until you give them something that's complex more than an isolation movement. And now they understand that their head and their bodies don't really have much of a conversation going on. So that has helped me pick up a lot of clients.
Gotcha.
Financially. And that money, I take that money, I invest it, I save it, but it's been good.
Excellent. Guys, once again, if you're liking the show, please like, share, subscribe. Share this content with as many people as you can. Share it to 20 people, because this is phase 2 of the global pandemic. We believe it's coming back again, and we believe it's coming back even fiercer. And I want to prepare the audience that's listening to help you guys deal with this schema affliction that might be coming. Because one of the things that I saw a lot of people becoming depressed. A lot of people committed suicide. And I don't want you to go through this current pandemic nightmare, part 2. So once again, if you like what we're saying, please donate to $7 Smalls, and also inbox me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. Inbox me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. I got you, Gene. Give me a minute.
I just want to make one point after you're done.
And so please do that. Go ahead, Gene. And then, Chris, I want you to tell the audience how you focus or dealt with it mentally, financially, and also socially. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, I'm very briefly. I just want to say that, to support what a lot of the guys have been saying, this has been called as far as the way jobs were affected during the pandemic, they're calling it a she session, because like something like 70%, 60 to 70% of the job losses have been women.
Right.
So, it's bad out there for them. It's bad. So a lot of these delusions that they have about the leverage that they have, they don't have it physically, and now financially they don't have it either. They didn't have it before, but it's even worse now.
Right. No, you're correct. Chris Strongart, what healthy coping mechanisms that you use to help you deal with the crisis of CV-19 or the beer virus 19, what coping mechanisms did you use, Chris?
Well, for me, back when everything first started, well, even before actually, I was already starting to invest in crypto.
Right. Talk about that.
So I had started back when Bitcoin was at like summer last year. I want to say it was 9,000, 8,000. Back when it was basically that was Bitcoin's pretty much highs was around 8,000, 9,000. So I was investing in Bitcoin back then, and then from starting about just started getting to Cardano, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, just all different kind of coins. And then from there, I also started to get up on my my regular stocks. So of course I was investing in different things like Tesla. We were looking at Carnival Cruise Lines, what Disney, just because when everything went down, I was already getting my ears to the streets about these stocks are going to go right back up when everything starts to open. So I was just paying close attention to certain stocks that are usually high and that have really started to that were tanking because of the pandemic. So I just started investing money into just a whole bunch of different stocks I started getting into. Also on top of that, let's see what else. Let's see, I went from that and started investing into more Bitcoins. Bitcoin started to go up. Yeah, so for the financial part of the game, it was really just staying invested, keeping my ears to the streets. Like now I could tell you that if you really want to get into investing in something right now, you want to invest into pharmaceutical companies. You definitely want to be on game with the pharmaceutical companies because everybody is in a rush right now to make the baddest vaccine on the block, because and also the market for personal health is really starting to come up there, starting to move up. Also on top of that, digital health is really starting to become a big deal. So you start putting two and two together and you start getting up on game about these young financial companies that are sometimes could be at $1, under $1, a few dollars, and they're trying to get the FDA approval. You can start to invest in them before they get the full approval, because when they get the FDA approval, they're going to jump up. You can invest a bunch of money into them. Next thing you know, you've made your money back. Okay, so a word of advice I would say is check out the FDA calendar, and then you can go on. You basically can get on Google and check it out. You get on the FDA calendar, and you can see young pharmaceutical companies that are at. I want to say you want to aim for looking at level 3s going into level 4, and on the site they have a calendar of when they're going to be looked at again to get their approval. Get in there, check them out, and see exactly if you know what their price is. You can pull option calls on them if you want, and see what their timeline is for when they're gonna go up. That's a real big way to keep a leg up in the game. So yeah, with financials, it's really just been stocks, cryptocurrency. I invested into also some different Bitcoin investment companies themselves, kind of like Cash FX and different ones that people might be familiar with. I checked out a few of those. Those are ways to multiply your Bitcoin and stuff like that. And then for the let's see, for my physical health, like I stay in the gym, man. Like I stay in the gym. I'm in the gym like 4 to 5 times a week. I'm in the gym. I've always been in the gym. I mean, of course, coming from a military background, I was never scared of the weights. I mean, we was always, in there trying to compete and get it in. So I'm always staying up on my physical fitness. I eat right. I watch my salt. Actually, I realized that coming back from Rio, one of the biggest contributors I've put it together that was helping me feel better mentally and my weight started to slowly taper down was I started to cut back on my salts. Because a lot of that food down there, if you haven't paid attention, because a lot of us the first time go down there, you notice the fries are not salty. A lot of the food you eat, the seasoning is different. That's a key factor to pay attention to. That seasoning is different. And that's the thing, because you get around people who all of a sudden they're ripping open salt packs and they're loading their food back up with salt. And I was just started to notice. I was like, pause, wait a minute. This is a major thing that I noticed that was helping me start to cut down the weight. My face started clearing up. We're eating acai every day. We're walking every day. We're being active. We're being mobile. And I started to notice. I think every brother down there probably noticed a change, even if they was only down there 2 to 3 weeks. They probably started to feel more energy. Notice that they were looking a little slightly different in the mirror.
Right.
I mean, those are the type of things that when I got back to the States, I was just like, now hold on, I need to be able to replicate this when I get back home, because that's the way my mind operates. If I find a mode of something that worked, I operate on a formula for success. That's how I operate. So for me, if I find something that works, I like to try to find a way to replicate it and make it better, to continue to do it, to continue replicating success in my life, right? So when I got back home, I made sure I was watching my salts, paying attention to what I was eating and stuff like that, eating fruit, vegetables, drinking water is probably one of the biggest things that I think that in the States we miss. Because down there, you just water, because it's just you're just used to getting water down there and fruits and stuff like that. And when you get back home to the States, I was realizing that I didn't have a lot of water around me. So I'm eating a lot of salt, preserving what would be, that's how they preserved meat back in the day. So I'm eating a lot of salt, not drinking water beforehand, and not drinking enough water. And that's one of the major things I started changing up. So more or less salt, drink more water, keep you flush and fluid and all that stuff. So then I noticed when I slipped up, I actually went to the movies and I had some popcorn and I had some nachos. And I realized that for me, when I eat too much salt, I eventually realized that I'll get migraines. So I felt the pain in the left side of my head right here. I was just like, wait a minute, because I was in a movie eating popcorn. I had little nachos. And after them nachos, I noticed right in the side of my head. So in my blood pressure spiked. And I just was like, oh, snap. So I have to be very careful, because now I'm starting to notice the salts are a big deal to pay attention to, especially now with the stress factor. And then for the mental edge that I do, also tying in to what Gene was saying, is that I stay on top of my meditations. I keep a very balanced way of thinking. I filter out a lot of things that I don't need in my mental space. Like I won't watch a lot of the news. I don't pay attention to a lot of the ratchet stuff that's on social media and YouTube. I don't Twitter. I basically tailor-made my ingestment of social media. I tailor-make it to where I'm in control. If I'm getting fed a bunch of stuff in my timeline, I won't even pay attention to it. I'll get it out of there and say, I don't need to watch this, not interested. I pay attention to what I'm watching on YouTube. And I keep it very limited to where my social medias are pretty much Instagram and some YouTube for the most part. And Instagram is mostly for my business. Where I can network with other artists and other groups, get works, clients and stuff like that. So that's mainly my Instagram, what it's for. And when I'm in the gym, like you were saying, is that I also was doing a flow state where I would get to a point to where, because I used to do a lot of elliptical, and I would be on the elliptical and I have my music going, and I'm very much, this is why I think as well, I'm not a real big team guy when it comes to the gym. I'm move much better in the gym by myself. I don't really have time to be talking a lot and trying to talk about what was going on during the day when I'm in there, with other people. No, when I'm in the gym, I'm focused. When I'm in the gym, I am focused, bro. Like I'm in there, I'm locked in, because to me it's serious. Like I have my headphones on, and I got them on for a reason, because I'm in my zone. So I get on the elliptical, turn it up, and I got to the point where I could close my eyes on the elliptical and completely stay at, my heart rate is still at the same spot, but I could close my eyes, completely zone out and go into a meditative state, because I meditate sitting still as well, but a complete meditative state to where my mind is completely about zoned out, but it's still in motion. My body's still in motion. So I'm starting to be able to feel myself like mentally, but also more like spiritually and physically all at once. I do the same thing when I'm doing my boxing training as well, because I got my gloves over here, and when I go to the gym, I also will imply a little bit of heavy bag training for my cardio. So when I'm in there and I'm just rocking around the bag, just doing my thing, working on my hands, working on my 1 through 8, moving around, jab, jab, step, whatever. When I'm moving around, it's almost like I get to a point to where I'm not thinking anymore. It's just natural reaction, just doo, 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 and I'm just moving. I'm not thinking. I'm just stepping around, step over, step back in, moving around and stuff like that. So I also imply a lot of those things to keep me focused
Right,
while
right,
we're going through this pandemic
right,
situation.
right. Listen, Gene said something a minute ago that was very poignant. I want to piggyback on it. Then I want Mr. Gigi to come in. But Gene said something that was very poignant. And we're going to piggyback on that. And we're going to ask the question, is there a Black community? And there is not a Black community. What's going to be the outcomes as we hold tight, as we continue to move forward? All right, hold tight. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
There actually are quite a few open positions in my area. Which is one of the reasons I'm really excited about getting going on a job search. But
Robin Meehan is preparing to re-enter the workforce, and part of her job search is making sure she gets out of the house at least once a day. Today's stop is for some hot coffee.
oh, so good.
The UNC graduate has been down this road before.
In 2017, I was unemployed and really struggling to find employment, even to get, past or to an interview. And if I got an interview, nothing was panning out.
That's when she found Dress for Success, a program that provides a network of help to underemployed and unemployed women.
The reason I thought they could help me is because I was a woman in a job search, not having a lot of luck, and just felt like their program might be able to help me.
Robin spent many years working in sales. Most recently, she closed down the company she ran with her husband. She says this time around, the application process looks a lot different.
The biggest effect that COVID has had is in the interviewing, in that you're not sitting face to face with somebody. You're obviously on a screen, and that's a whole new dynamic.
Which is why her coffee break is about way more than the caffeine. It's a mindset, a strategy.
Is make sure you're scheduling yourself out so that you're talking with people, you're getting dressed, not living in your sweats.
And after refueling, she's ready to head home and push forward looking for a job.
All right. So Gene more or less brought the question into play. If many women are losing jobs, including white women, what's going on in the Black community? As unfortunately, there's an old saying that says, I think Tavis Smiley said it, that when white America get the flu, a cold, we get the flu. I want you to take it to the bridge, Brother Eric Spencer, and you talk about all the turmoil in our community as a lot of our women are left uncovered. What do you see, or what do you see as many women are losing jobs? And how do you think it's going to impact them mentally as we're about to hit this second wave of this pandemic?
Well, what I think is going to happen, and like I said, what I'm seeing is they're still standing strong. They're still out, hot girl summering it in their minds, mentally. They think that there's going to be some type of Messiah that comes in and swoop them up. And like I said, this generation, they haven't been through anything like this. My grandparents, they did preserves, they were self-sufficient, they cooked, clean, lived off the land and whatnot. And a lot of Black people, especially Black women, don't have those tools.
Right.
I mean, hell, most of them don't even cook. Let alone you talking about skinning a chicken, a live chicken, or making preserves, or knowing how to do essential things to survive. you're too dependent on a system that is no longer available to you, or it may not be available to you, and it's going to be devastating. They're not going to admit it, but you'll see it. And if you're out and about, you're really going to see it. Like I was in Atlanta early part of this month, and even though you were out and about, people were out doing things and whatnot, there was still certain places that I would go, and you can kind of feel that dread when you talk to some of the women. They were happy that you were having a conversation with them.
Right.
They were just kind of like, that underlying energy that they gave off because of the uncertainty. Yeah, they're working now, but they don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And here in Orlando, it's the same way. We're open. Florida is fully open, and everybody's out and about. But when the newness wears off, and you start heading into September and October, and they're depending on the holiday season to try to carry them over. But even then, people aren't going to be spending. There's just too many different things that are going on right now. Black men, we've been having to pivot the majority of our time being here. We know how to get down and make things happen. Nobody's been giving us anything. We've had to be able to make $1 out of 15 cents, whereas they've been given $1 and then some, plus the support.
Right.
So I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I'm telling you, there is a lot of denial, but the reality is that women, especially Black women, are losing those jobs. Companies are not going to be out here paying people. Automation is a lot cheaper. I can get a coder, a technician, and I can man all the cash registers in Walmart. And I don't have to pay employee payroll tax. I don't have to pay Social Security tax. I don't have to pay insurance, all the other things. I don't have to contribute to 401k. All that stuff is going to be cost effective, and it's going to be savage. And you don't have a job to go to. You're talking about Uber. Well, hell, you can't even afford to get a decent car to do Uber. And you're talking about being Fiverr, but you don't have any skills that translate to you being able to do gigs on Fiverr. So where are you at? Where are you at? And all the programs that are there, they're not designed for the amount of women that they may have to accommodate. These homeless shelters, they may be used to 100 women. What are you going to do when you got 1,000 or 2,000 homeless women with kids? Where are you going to put them at? Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it?
Right. You're correct. The government's broke. And,
yeah. They've already shot all the bullets in their gun.
Right. The government's broke. And those rounds of checks that the government gave to a lot of these women, I don't think it's going to happen the next time. Mr. GG, and then back to Gene and Chris. It's a Black community broken. And what are you seeing in Missouri that suggests something ominous is on the horizon?
Well, here in Kansas City, Missouri, I don't know if you guys seen it on the news, but about 3-4 hours away from here, there's cities called Joplin, Missouri, and Springfield, Missouri. Okay.
Right.
Soon, when Delta hit, those hospitals filled up super quick. All right. And a lot of the hospitals will slowly start move towards Jefferson City, St. Louis area. Okay. All right. They're not as bad here in Kansas City, but we hear it all day on the news. Hey, man, we need some of your people, some of your hospitals to accept some of our clients. We'll fly them up there and everything. Yeah, because this COVID-19, it's not no joke. It is not no joke from my understanding. Because, I mean, if the hospitals are filling up, I mean, something must be really, really, really going on. Another thing that I noticed yesterday on the live stream, and I'm going to piggyback on what Eric was talking about Fiverr. I was, telling some people, there were some young ladies on there and they were talking about, hey, they want to know other ways to make the money, you know, because they were doing like, you know, different things online, tarot card readings, stuff like that. And I said, well, hey, I'm on Fiverr and I hired people on there overseas to do jobs. They're like, well, why don't you hire us? How come you can't hire American? I said, why would I hire somebody to, you know, pay them $200-300 to do what I need to do when I can hire somebody from the Philippines that speaks clear English, or from Pakistan that speaks clear English, to do what I need to do for probably 10% of the price of what you charge? That would be a very, very economical, you know, ignorant business decision. You understand?
Right.
And when I talked to this lady, she was like, but yeah, but I need something, you know, whatever. She like kind of, remember I told you things are kind of passive aggressive? She kind of hinted towards it. And this woman was out of Tampa Bay, Florida. You know, I don't know how Florida is down there, you know, and everything. But I do know, we heard on the news about one of the town councils out there. The video went viral where the man snapped on the mayor and the city council because they were shutting off power out there during the pandemic. You know, I don't know if you guys remember about that, roughly about 8 months ago or something. Yeah, it went like super viral. That man should have went for governor or something though, because he stood up for everybody. But all we know here in Missouri is, yeah, the power's still on. People are somewhat happy. I don't know all the details of it, but yeah, this pandemic is not no joke, you know, and it's affecting women very, very bad, especially if they're coming to me for jobs and then coming to me asking, hey, what about that real estate or whatever? But hey, they put themselves in this situation, you know, and, you know, again, when us guys actually warn a lot of these North American women, you know, I don't like to say the word American, but North American, we got to specialize that.
Right.
North American women, you know, some advice, some counsel on how to protect themselves, financially invest, you know, take the money wherever they're getting now because it's only temporary and run with it, right? They don't want to listen. They don't, you know. And it's just like Kevin Samuels did on Fresh and Fit's show. They had an interview with those ladies from OnlyFans, and he actually told them, he said, you're getting those OnlyFans money for right now. You're getting it, okay? But there's going to come a time when that cash flow cut off. They took it as, well, you're just hating on us. Right. Because we're getting our hustle, we're getting our money, and we're getting more money than you. And he said, look, there's going to come a time when this money stops. What are you doing with the money you're getting now to reinvest it into something to keep you from falling off if in the event that something happens? And they took it as an offense. So what do you think happened? 3 weeks ago, OnlyFans announced, guys probably know about this. OnlyFans announced that they are going to cancel all adult content and move more towards Hollywood producers and updates of movies, you know, because it's bad for business. Do you know how many women on TikTok and on YouTube, right, was boo-hooing in tears and all this stuff, but at the same time, they're trying to get as many of these photos and many of these videos out as they can while all these simps and manginas are paying? It's real out here. Now, when is OnlyFans going to really do it? I don't know, but they said it's coming pretty soon. So, hey, Kevin Samuels spoke on it. A lot of us guys, we warned these women, and this is the situation that they're in. I even told them to put their money into real estate. You know, if they and if you don't have any money, you can still get into real estate. You know, I see a lot of brothers going out in crypto and stocks. That's not my type of thing, you know. And I tell them, hey, go in that. That might work for you. Make sure you financially educate yourself before you just throw your money into something. These women wouldn't do a thing. I got a career. I got my degree. I don't need all of that. And I need to pay my bills. Now you're in a situation, you lost your job or you're unemployable, right? You're not in the position where you can do manual labor. You know, you're not in the position where you can get inside the trades, the carpenters, the plumbers, the heating and AC, the electrical. They're not in that dynamic anymore. They're not in that dynamic to try to learn those things. And now what? You're just stuck. You said you didn't need a man, and now you put yourself in that position. Now you put your own foot in your mouth. So, yeah, so to answer your question, yes, it's really affecting here in Missouri and women all around.
Gene, it appears that the Black community is dying. And you know, and I know that fathers give guidance. Men have a gift that God has given them called provision, meaning we can see in the future. we have the ability to see a lot of things that our women can't see. With this current global pandemic and automation taking over a lot of jobs, tell me what you're seeing in New York, and tell the audience what you're seeing in New York that suggests that the Black community will continue to go down a more narrow, a more devastating trajectory. Unmute yourself, Gene. Unmute yourself.
That's what it was. Okay. For me, it's been really interesting because, on social sort of thing, that happens. But when the pandemic hit, it was different.
Right.
It was different. Eric said, a lot of these women, at least publicly, they're still very haughty, but they're not haughty when they come in your inbox. Then they're humble. But the biggest difference I've seen is that as the pandemic has gone on, I've gotten more and more like young women in my inbox, like 18 to 23.
Right.
And I didn't expect that. And when they come in your inbox, basically they're looking for like they're pretty much like begging. It's not like the pride that you see with the older women. And they're looking for like a sugar baby type of thing where they come in, they cook for you, they clean for you, they sex you however you want, and you throw them a couple of $100. Like, this is what they've offered me. I've never taken them up on it, but this is what they've offered me. And I never had that happen to me before the pandemic. Like, I've had women in my inbox forever, but I've never had 18 to 23-year-olds. Another thing is just the sheer numbers of women. Like, one day I had 12 women message me. These women are scrambling for anyone who they think, can. I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention before is that one of the things in New York that has been different is that the violence has been crazy. Like, people are getting killed here like crazy. Mostly like in the Bronx. So I'm in Manhattan. So if you go, a lot of people getting killed there and in Brooklyn. And, a lot of these Black women who are like blue collar workers and, minimum wage workers, they live in these neighborhoods. So anyone who can get them out of these neighborhoods, anyone who can, provide them with something better. I mean, they look and they see I live in New York. If they look at my profile, they see I live in Marble Hill. It's a way better living situation than where they're at. And I think that plays a part in, why they're coming at me. But the biggest thing is that, to Eric's point, it's like you have those ones that are out there that are prideful, but a lot of Black women are humbling themselves in guys' inboxes. And in the past, when they would come in your inbox, they would still try to come at you like, like they're hitting you up, but they're acting like they're the prize. And they're doing you a favor by showing up in your inbox. But that's changing.
Right. And it's unfortunate because, a lot of these young ladies had a chance to cash out in their younger years, but they never did. And now they're more or less suffering the wrath. Chris Strongheart, I want to ask you a question. And I know that our community has been going downhill since, I would say, the 70s. Mm-hmm. Eric and I, we're old school, and Gene, we're old school. We're class of 90. Gene, you class of 1900. But
pretty much.
Gene, your ass class of 1900.
Yo, but I'm still Jack, son. I'm still Jack.
You still Jackson, no doubt. But let me ask you a question, Chris Strongheart. You see the downward trajectory of the Black community. Tell me what's going on in Fayetteville. What are you seeing, and what are your concerns about the crime rate? And before you do it, I want to thank Brother J.S. Huggins. Man, you always come through. Thank you, brother. Thank you for that Cash App donation. And guys, whoever else want to donate, please cash out $, Seven Smalls. Share this content. If you don't have any money, share my content. That's how you can pay me. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers, man, as we try to empower as many Black men, men in general, and conscious women that want to listen to this message as we're trying to go forward from a clinical perspective. But Chris Strongheart, what's going on in Fayetteville? We call it Fayetteville because I know it's about to get real crummy. But what's going on in Fayetteville that would suggest that this downward trajectory is about to get worse?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Not just Fayetteville in general, but I mean, Fayetteville has always kind of been, a little bit on, or certain parts of Fayetteville have always been a little bit, dicey. We'll say dicey. I mean, there's some places in Fayetteville where you want to, be careful about where you're going and stuff like that. But as far as it pertains to the Black community, I feel like what we're dealing with is, listen, my opinion personally is that I'm a little bit pessimistic when it comes to this topic because I don't really see an issue as far as the community aspect of what a community is. So I want to say it like a community is a network of people who work together, or a network in terms of like, we have a cohesive understanding between the men and women, the children, and it's a growing process. Everybody working together under a common purpose to build something going toward the future. This is why, in my opinion, I don't necessarily see a striving, strapping Black community like that. My opinion, I don't really see that because of all the things that we're seeing from everything that social media is telling us, and everything that all the men who are coming back with the reports of everything that they have seen, and how we're compiling notes together and saying, hey, look here, something is wrong. Something is wrong with the strategy here. We're not working. Like, there are different content creators say that, Black men and women, we're just not getting along right now. And I personally, I don't really see us as so much of a community if we are not getting along. Now, my question is that necessarily a bad thing? It might sound a little, crazy, but I think it's a natural process for us to continue to, I'd say, grow in ways to where brown is starting to become more the norm. What I'm saying is that we're growing into a situation to where we're not considered the minority anymore, because that's just a phrase that's been termed that way because everybody's chopped up by degrees of skin tone. But if you really looked at it as everybody being brown, then guess what? Who's the minority? You know what I'm saying? Or who is like at the 51 to 50% ratio, if you want to look at it that way. All right. So the mindset of us being minorities kind of makes us feel like we're being pushed into this box, you know what I'm saying? Of who and what we are, which I like to feel like we're bigger than just being called a community, because a community almost sounds like a village, which a village sounds like, just maybe like it's just not many of us, but our numbers are bigger than what we are, or what we think we are. And but in terms of the pandemic, man, it's just kind of like, a lot of these young ladies out here, I think they still are not going to really get it. They're not really going to grasp it. I don't really see this picture where we're going to be this, going down the street hand in hand, skipping around like, oh, we finally figured it out. Like I said before, not in my lifetime do I feel like things are really going to make this super 360 change where, the women are acquiescing to how men are wanting wives to be, or how we are trying to address certain issues. I feel like the majority of women in our community have decided where they're going to be, and I believe they're willing to fight for that. What they have shown. I mean, like y'all were mentioning OnlyFans, and Kev Samuels had said that, hey, y'all need to actually invest in something that'll carry you forward instead of being cam girls, because y'all are basically like temp workers. Yeah, you can run up a bag and get 30K. Okay, but what happens when your well is cut off? When that's cut off, what are you going to do? Right? Because now you're going to try to go out here and, eventually you're going to get to that fork in the road, or that wall where you're going to be looking for a man to support you. And if a man who's worth his weight in salt is going to be like, wait a minute, you were OnlyFans girl. Oh, you were doing such and such on camera. okay, we may have to negotiate the full terms of what you actually really asking for now. So everything that she's doing is putting herself at a hindrance because I feel like they were given a false security blanket of we don't need no man, especially now. We're hot girl summer, single, independent, do whatever we want. You men are simps over us. You guys will pay for our foot pictures and all this other stuff. And it's just like, hun, you've been living in a false reality. And now that winter's coming, all right, listen, if they wake up or not, honestly, that's on them. I don't really have, I don't want to say I don't have a dog in the fight because obviously me being black myself, I care and my family. But as far as women who have refused to understand or want to understand what the majority of black men that they say that we're their men, but I don't listen to what women say. I watch their actions.
Right.
And the majority of them that have continued to go down this path of I don't care what you tell me, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Fine. I don't see them. I don't care. Right. I hear it from my brothers. They tell me all different things that they're dealing with. And I always tell them, brothers, better options out there. There's better options out there. You don't have to deal with chicks. You don't have to deal with chicks.
Right.
But as long as there are brothers who continue to put themselves through certain things and not really exercise their options, and as long as there are women who are willing to stand on that hill of I'm single, independent, and this is how it's going to be, and I'm going to find a man that's going to buck and bend the knee to me, fine. Y'all can keep playing that dance until the end of time, but guess what? I'm not for it. I'm not having it. I'm not going to be the one, and I feel like all we can do is brothers who I feel like we are more, let's say we're more enlightened because we have seen the finer things in life on the other side. You know what I mean? And all we can do is just preach the word to brothers who are willing to listen. That's why I'm saying I don't need the whole quote unquote black community, or I don't need to get out here and stand on the soapbox and preach to every brother. You give me 300 that's ready to work and I'm good. That's it. That's all we need. Because like I was talking to one of the other brothers, one of the other admins of the group before I left Rio, and me and him, we sat down, we had a good conversation face to face, and we had a good lunch. And we was talking about how we don't need very many brothers to really come together and put our minds together financially and actually work on a project to where we could start buying buildings, setting things up for brothers who want to come through and travel, setting up and we would have lawyers, we would have possibly somebody, some type of form of somebody we know that we were good with the law enforcement, and then possibly it could get even higher to maybe I don't know, a government official or representative who's in good with us and knows who we are. We have a good standing. So it starts at a building. Then we could eventually have a street. I think I've said this before, where we can finally start to own our culture again, to where you don't see other races in a hip hop shop running our culture, selling it back to us as though we don't, know who we are. Like I feel as though we get to a point to where, we're running hip hop shops, dance clubs, soul food. One of our brothers in the group wants to open up a bar and start having, more like, Hennessy drinks and stuff like that down there because he didn't see a lot of it. So we got brothers who have the mental fortitude that want to build, and the possibilities are endless. And that's what gives me hope for a bright future, where I feel like there's a majority of us that I'm sorry, but they just gonna fall to the wayside. And I don't feel like it's my job to save them. That's me personally. If you feel different, that's on you. I don't feel like it's my job to be your savior.
Right.
I save myself.
Right.
Black man. That's what I'm saying. So that's what it is. That's the whole movement. That our end of the red pill is SYSBM. Save yourself, black men. And then when we find the other brothers who are willing to save themselves, that's where we form the new community. That's where we form the new black men who are ready to come together and actually start making it happen. And I feel like we're going to be that end of this structure that is going to work probably more in the overseas category, because right now I feel like there's oil in the water out here in the States. You got to pick and choose, and it's so hard to find how many brothers who are really ready, willing, and got the understanding of what we're really trying to do. Because on the outside looking in, they'll try to judge us and say, oh, y'all just going down there chasing women, doing this and that. Not even. There was so much more networking and brothers coming together as with like minds and willing to talk about future progress toward the Black community, which I feel like will be the new Black community 2.0, because we're going to be overseas and we'll be able to be a testament. Because if you look at what we have now, I mean, we have brothers who are on a trip together who are still continuing to network in the States.
Right.
And those are the type of things that if you're not there, you won't get it. That's what this movement is all about, is about restructuring the things and the problems that we have been seeing in the so-called Black community. So to tie it all in a knot, I feel like the old version of the Black community is dying.
Right.
And in a sense, I feel like it needs to, so we can pave the way for the new structure that is ready to come and build a new Black community, which I feel like will probably be overseas.
I believe Eric will start something in Brazil called Eric Spencer Street.
Hey, I'll be there.
The 252 edition. They will call it Spencer Street. Eric and I are both 252 boys. We're from the Eastern Plains of North Carolina. Mr. Gigi, I don't know if you answered the question, but STEM fields are very important to the fortification of communities. And unfortunately, a lot of our Black kids are not in STEM classes or STEM fields. The Black community is dying. Like I said, it's been dying since the 90s. What are you seeing in Joplin, Missouri, and also in the state of Missouri that suggests that there's no upward trajectory, but mostly things ominous on the horizon?
Well, are you talking as far as stem cell research?
No, not stem cell research. There's STEM classes. There's a STEM field. We know that STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But to piggyback on that, as it relates to automation and as it relates to the Black community, what are you seeing in Missouri that would suggest that something ominous, something that's already ominous, is actually getting worse since COVID-19?
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So I would say the biggest thing is a lack of individuals actually willing, and I mean strongly willing, to get in the skilled trade fields. The plumbing, the electrical, the heating, the cooling. The skilled trade fields. You got a lot of brothers who would rather work at gas stations out here, Family Dollar, and they wouldn't get out in the fields, right? And because either they haven't been trained or they just don't want to go get the training, and the training is out there. Myself, I come from the fields of plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, and refrigeration, and electrical, and I hold 2 degrees in each of the fields. So one is called stationary engineering technology, and the other one's in heating and air conditioning technology. And when I left those, I try to leave those fields, because I got my real estate business, and that's where my passion started growing at. But I believe it basically boils down to the motivation of those individuals being willing to actually see there is a need for those fields rather than just as a game. You understand? And what happens is some people get more and more influenced by, social media, for example, people with bad psychological problems, all this negativity. Like here, we got ambulances always running 24/7 here. Ambulances, gunshots, is real here. Okay. All right. And what happens is that if you have a community of individuals, Black, white, it doesn't matter, growing up around this negative environment, and they're not around positive peers who are encouraging them to either go to college, get an education, get some type of training, or to actually teach them to invest, they're going to be steered in a direction where they do not want to be in those fields. So they can care less about those fields. Only thing they care about is oppressing a female and getting some money. This is just as simple as that. Getting a female, as long as they get a female, get some money, get in, get out, that's all that matters, And a lot of these guys are so silly, they're actually getting thousands of dollars and putting beat in their car, and they still stay with their moms. There's a lot of that ridiculous thinking out here. The point of the stimulus check you were talking about, which was a really interesting point, I was listening to Robert Kiyosaki's channel, and he said something very, very interesting. He said that and this was like around the first to second stimulus check. He said that A lot of people are going to get that stimulus check, and there's going to probably be maybe 1% of those people who are going to financially educate themselves or put themselves in some type of educational field. The rest of them, they're going to buy this thing called stuff. And at that time, I didn't know what he meant by stuff. But when he said stuff, he meant like the new pair of Jordans, okay? New hair weave, stuff at Family Dollar, Dollar General, just stuff, right? But nothing to actually financially educate themselves. They can buy a simple electrical book or a simple course, Fiverr actually has courses, guru.com, they have courses, you can actually learn some of this stuff at home. But some of these people are not motivated enough to the point. What will really happen, in my opinion, is it's going to take something really catastrophic where there's a power outage or something like that. And they're like, hey, we don't have enough manpower or whatever, right? And once they start seeing more and more of those problems happen, that'll go ahead and shake somebody up like, hey, I got to learn this stuff, man, not only to improve my community, but hey, I'm tired of this stuff going out. And that's probably what's going to ruffle some feathers, in my opinion.
Right. Once again, the topic is what happens if tomorrow never comes. The clinical term that a lot of people are going through is called denial. It's an ego defense mechanism, but also an ego defense mechanism is called repression, where people are not aware of what's going on due to a cognitive distortion, or as like Eric said earlier, cognitive dissonance. And so, we've always said that many don't believe that the fat meat is greasy. And, Gene talked about many are actually dabbling in prostitution because they don't have the covering of a man. Let's look at this video real quick, guys, about the prostitution that's going on in New York. Let's form an opinion. And you all know that P.J. Washington got 704. That's a term that I use. By 304. He got 704 by 304. And we don't want the brethren to get 704. And so wow. I want you guys to listen to this and let's form an opinion. Hold tight, guys. Hold tight. All right, hold tight. Let me see. Video share screen. We're going to talk about the rise of prostitution in New York. And let's have a discussion. All right.
Prostitutes getting pinched by police, prosecuted for plying their trade. But advocates are fighting to end America's prohibition on prostitution.
There's no disagreement that I'm aware of that people in should never be criminally prosecuted.
Zola Bruce agrees. Zola has an Ivy League master's degree, teaches at John Jay College in Manhattan. Oh, and works in the sex industry.
I do bondage, submission, dominance, masochism, sadism. Sex work is like many other jobs. Some people love it, some people hate it.
But where Zola sees sex work as economic opportunity, others see exploitation.
I think the term itself, sex work, is a little bit problematic because it really just sanitizes what's going on here, which is the commercial exploitation of women's bodies.
She's hoping for a crackdown on sex traffickers and others.
Pimps and Johns have long escaped with impunity for all of this.
If we're going to criminalize our patrons, then that's just going to push us further underground. There's a difference between adult consensual sex work and a sex crime. And I think that unfortunately people constantly are conflating the two.
Zola's pushing for full decriminalization of the industry. Right now, it's only legal in Nevada, in brothels in a couple counties. In 2018, when we visited the Bunny Ranch, the brothel made famous in HBO's show Cat House, critics had put the question of legality on the ballot.
This is really modern day slavery. The illegal sex trade and the legal sex trade are inextricably linked. We know that that wherever a jurisdiction legalizes prostitution, that the incidence of illegal sex trafficking skyrockets.
But the late Dennis Hoff, self-described pimp, argued his 4 brothels had a $10 million impact on the local economy. And Ruby Ray, who then worked at the Bunny Ranch, told me her job as an independent contractor gave her financial independence.
I get as much or as little vacation time as I want. I can take care of my own health insurance.
Their argument succeeded. The referendum failed. Now, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, Vice President.
All right, I want to ask you guys a question. Do you guys feel sorry for some of these women that are choosing to more or less sell their body for gain. And then Eric and Gene and Chris and Mr. Gigi, I want you guys to share with the audience, what can men do to protect themselves? As you all know, that PJ Washington got manipulated because he didn't understand female psychology and because he's an unconscious simp. And so what can men do to protect themselves? So back to the question, do you guys think these women are being exploited? Or do you think they are suffering the recompense of their rebellion? Starting with Eric Spencer, Deacon Eric Spencer.
Well, first off, hell no. Hell no. I mean, for multiple reasons. First off, they chose that. They chose that occupation. Next, like the woman just said, I'm a 1099 worker. That means I'm working for myself. See, the problem is the feminism has told these women that you can't objectify me. But women are putting their bodies out there to be objectified. So the argument goes against the feminist ideology.
Right.
And they also know that they're losing control because that's what they've used to keep men under wraps.
Right.
But as this is America, we are a free market. So as the market increases and buyers decrease,
right,
then that means it's a buyer's market. And that's what you're seeing.
Right.
And these women that are out here saying, oh, well, it's sex trafficking. These women chose this. They want to demonize these pimps and all this other stuff. But sweetheart, you chose to get on that track. You chose to be in that bunny ranch. You chose to go out there and do the things that you do. You're doing something strange for a piece of change. Make them holler for $1. And now the woman talking about I can get to choose when I go on vacation or not. And now you want to tie that to sex trafficking? See, they're trying to dirty it up. Anybody that's been in the military knows you can go to Germany, Amsterdam. They've got a red light district that has been in service for years. And you've had women come all over the world to come to Frankfurt or Amsterdam to be in those red light districts. See, what it is, they don't want that to come to the States because what it does is it removes all power from women. But it's too late because all this women empowerment, you being able to walk around butt naked and you can't say anything to me, you doing slut walks, all that stuff is this big ass recipe. And guess what? COVID is the oven, and now you got to get a slice of that cake. And that cake going to be, you're going to sell what you have to get what you want. That's where we're at. And they don't like it. The feminists don't like it because, let's just be honest, most of them don't look like nothing. So they can't compete no way. You talking about, there's some Groupon women. You ain't even in the running. So it's going to be skewed towards men that have means and women that look like what men want. And there's nothing that you can do about it. You've already done the OnlyFans. You've already done everything you can to break up the nuclear family. Excuse me. You have women empowerment. So this is what you get. And so I don't feel bad for any of them because they chose that. And I've always prophesied you're going to start seeing more and more of that. A whole lot more of that. And like I said earlier in the broadcast, America is not ready for that because they have been fed this Disney movie and they think that's how things are supposed to be. But us traveling brothers, we've been overseas. We know the difference. You ain't seen poverty until you start going overseas. You've seen some real poverty overseas.
Right.
People are thankful. But at the same time, they do what they have to do. Well, that's part of that winter coming because a lot of women are going to have to do that. And there have been talks of them legalizing prostitution on a federal level. They want to tax it. So they're trying to fight to hold on. But what are you going to do with all these women that aren't trained to do anything else? And the only value that you have, because that's what you've been telling us, you got that WAP. Well, it's time to put that WAP out there and see what it's really worth. Now you got to find out.
Somebody,
it ain't even worth 40.
Somebody said they got that DAP.
Yeah, well, I don't know what they got, WAP, DAP, or whatever. But like I said, it all boils back to what we've been talking about. You don't believe the fat meat is greasy.
They don't believe it's greasy.
So we about to get this iron skillet. We about to damn grease it up with that lard. We're gonna put it in the frying pan, and we're gonna see what your monkey ass gonna do when that pan get nice and hot, and we drop that meat in it.
Dropping that fire for your mind. Listen, Gene, you're up in New York. You're up in I think Brooklyn or Manhattan. What's going on,
I'm in
man?
Manhattan.
You know, Gene, you saw what they were talking about with Manhattan. What's your take on this decriminalization of prostitution? And it's unfortunate because if our women had coverings and had the covering of their husband because they were respecting them, they wouldn't be in this predicament. So I want you to share to talk about that.
But I mean, I think the thing that's interesting is that, years ago, you wouldn't have someone coming in your inbox and bartering with you for, to sell themselves to you. So it's like, it's a completely different scene and dynamic, but they're basically trotting out the old tropes to demonize men. Like they're talking about victimization. How is it victimization when there are way more women out here trying to sell themselves than there are pimps trying to sell women? Like way more. It's not even close. Like I have yet to encounter a guy coming in my inbox trying to sell a woman, but I've encountered many women coming in my inbox trying to sell themselves or trying to barter themselves. As almost like the girlfriend experience. I'm gonna cook, clean, and do all the nasty stuff, and you give me like an allowance, sort of thing. So it's changed the dynamic to the point where this pandemic and this she session has women, seeking sex work, seeking to sell themselves. There's no pimp, there's no boogeyman for them to point the finger at. But they're still doing it. They're still packaging it as if these women are innocent victims who someone is forcing them to do something that they don't want to do. Now, one of the really interesting things about New York is during the pandemic, as the pandemic went on, and especially during the lockdown, I cannot tell you now. Again, New York is a city of 8 million people. So when people started to come back out a little bit, I cannot tell you how many camel toes, and they have those. You guys are in the gym. You see the tights that the women have that like literally separate the butt cheeks.
Oh yeah.
And it cups the camel toe. Like you can see that the camel toe is like jumping out at you. Man, you go to the supermarket, you go anywhere, and there were women. That's what they were wearing, man. Like it was. And what was it for sex work? Was it for because they were just horny and wanted to connect with somebody? I don't know. But all I know is that every direction I looked, there was ass crack and excuse my French, butt crack and camel toe everywhere.
Jay, your sound is going up and down. Right, got it. Your sound is going up and down.
Hey, Gene, I'm gonna tell you what that's called. That's called the now hiring sign. That's the now hiring sign and accepting applications.
Yeah.
And guys, it's unfortunate because there was a time, Eric and I often talk in private where the black community was strong and vibrant, but unfortunately, some, not all, of American women, because it's not an ethnic thing, put their careers before they put family, and many there are actually regretting putting their careers first. And once again, many are suffering the recompense of their era. I want to get the young guys some game, because a lot of young men can be more or less smiggled into a relationship by some of these 304s, like the young folks call them. And so let's talk about some practicality that young men need to be on the lookout for, because the Hey Big Head texts are coming, the knocking on the doors are coming. I had a woman I barely knew. She came in my inbox. She was being passive aggressive, like one of the brothers said. And she wasn't disrespectful, but she was like, "Oh, I don't have any clothes. My daughter doesn't have anything." And I'm very generous. I'm a Leo. I got a big heart, and I gave her $100. Because I said because I have a big heart. But then she said thanks. But she didn't really stay in contact after that. And then after that, maybe about a couple of months down the road, she started doing the soft stir again, and I ignored her because my whole point was it's like you only wanted to talk with me and use me as a utility for your futility. Because if you had a husband, he should have been covering you during the deadliest part of this pandemic. So, Mr. GG, I'm sure you've been through some trauma related to dating and relationships. What have you learned that you can share with some of the younger men that can help them be prepared so they won't get 704 like PJ Washington as it relates to dating and female nature?
Well, lately, I'm a big fan of the Tom Leykis show. I don't know if you guys know who Tom Leykis is.
Yeah, I know who Tom is.
And also, too, I became also a newly huge fan of Charles Tyler.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff Charles Tyler spoke, Tom Leykis stated also, too. And what it simply all boiled down to is the fact that you have to, number one, accept the fact for what things are, what it is. You have to just accept it for what it is. You understand? Tom Leykis has stated that these guys are out here doing stupid stuff like getting married out here in their 20s and everything. And one thing they have to do is learn to stick this thing out, because the light's at the end of the tunnel. Once you hit around 30s, you're 35 years old, that's when a man hits his financial beginning peak. I'm telling you this. Those 20-year-olds who were actually shutting you down in your 20s, right? When you're 35, 40 years old, 45, right? Those same 20-year-olds were out there with Chad, Tyrone, Pookie, Ray, and Johnny, right? Those same ones, right, are going to come back to you. I'm telling you this. They will come back to you with 3, 4 kids by multiple kids' dad asking you to take care of them and to save them. Right? But what's happening is the dynamic has changed, because we're not going after them. No, we're actually going after their daughters. Their daughters are between 18 and 24. That's the real karma. Okay? We're going after their daughters, their nieces. We're going after them, and we're getting our passports, and we're getting the heck out of here.
Right.
Okay? That's number one. Number two, and I will tell you guys this: master the fine art of living alone. There's so many guys I've actually have seen actually move in with these chicks. These chicks are be kids' moms, and they hurry up and bust nuts in them and then get them pregnant just to lock them down and have a kid and have a place over their head. No, man, that's hogwash, man. That's hogwash, man. All right? There's nothing wrong with you going out here filling out a bunch of applications if you got to get you some public housing or some Section 8 just to stay away from staying with a woman. I'm telling you this, man. I got burnt so many times doing something silly like that in my past. Okay? The luxury right now of living alone is powerful. I can sit my feet on my couch. I can turn my TV up as loud as I want to. I can actually have the choice to have a woman over or not. Living alone is powerful. Remember, there's a difference between living alone versus being lonely. And people try to get those things mixed up. If a woman shames you, because she's going to shame you, that's why you're lonely. That's why you're alone, because of da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. No, what you're going to discover at living alone, I'll tell you, is you don't have to hear that. You know, I learned one thing on Charles Tyler's show. He said this, man, and this was powerful. He said that when a woman in the United States come to him and talk and argue with him, the first thing he thinks in his mind is, okay, I'm going to take this first trip over to Brazil. I wonder when that next flight is. What time that flight comes? Right? Right? Dang, okay, all right, is that flight at 10 or 11? And while she's arguing, she's going, wah, 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 wah. That's what's going through his mind. Well, you have to transfer your mind into that. And once you master that, then you'll be able to see more abundance. Because you got to remember, man, the United States, like Charles Tyler said, it is a feminist country. But at the end of the day, this is a man's world. We created this thing, okay? If you look up, there's a book I always refer to my students by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. And you'll hear a man inside of there. His name, the great Andrew Carnegie. You understand? And Andrew Carnegie has revolutionized the world's iron, metal, and steel industry. Go look this stuff up. I don't want to spoil this stuff for you guys, okay? And then also another one of our heroes, Nikola Tesla. You understand? And these heroes actually revolutionized the whole planet. You understand? The way of how we do things, how we operate, things like that. And there hasn't been women out here. There's not been one woman that revolutionized the whole planet. There hasn't. All right? There hasn't. You know, we're men. This is what we do. Okay? We can do circles around these women. And now that the information's out there, that they know that we can get our passports and leave, that they know that we can actually, instead of settling from some 30 or 40-year-old woman that hit the wall so hard, you know, they put cracks in the concrete, that we can go after that beautiful 18 to 24-year-old and still be in our 50s and 30s or what have you, or 40s, right, and still be able to look happy and be blessed and be fulfilled. No stress, no high blood pressure, no type of diabetes or heart attacks, you know, driven by these American women. Now that they know that information is out there, yes, they are feeling threatened. They are feeling weakened. And like I said before with the Bill Cosby case, when they set up here and actually put that man in there, and then that man got released. And remember, the Me Too movement started one day before this man went to jail. After that man came out, that Me Too movement actually got crippled. Now, the Me Too movement is still here. Don't get me wrong. But it took a huge blow for this man to get out of prison, because there were so many women, not just that man, but other cases going out here, Me Tooing. If they say it and the law believes it, then that means that man did it. That was the formula, and that still is the formula. I still stick to my guns. Get your passport and leave. Learn how to live alone. And most of all, learn how to be around positive and uplifting people that actually want to see you succeed.
Yes.
Right.
I
agree with that. Listen, guys, once again, get the likes up. Now, listen, guys, there's 23 people looking at this show. I'm a licensed clinical therapist. I love the brotherhood, but guys, come on, you all got to help me out. Please donate to the Cash App. I have a PayPal account. Donate. These shows are time consuming, but I do it because I love the brothers. We got Deacon Eric Spencer in the house, you know, all-time favorite. We got Conscious Crab 2.0, Brother Gene Davis. And then we got Lil Crab. We got Lil Crab, Chris Strongart. So listen, get the likes up. Donate to the show. I don't think you're going to find too many guys in this space that's a licensed therapist that's giving it to you from a red pill perspective, but also giving you some clinical concepts that can help inspire you as we're about to go into phase 2 of this pandemic. So donate to $ on Cash App 7 Smalls, and also hit the PayPal and help me continue to grow this brand. And I'm going to say it again. If you don't have any money, which I know some of y'all do because y'all tricking, come off that whole budget. Some of y'all got a whole budget, so y'all paying them hoes. Y'all can pay me something. But you know, take some of the money out of your whole budget if you got some money. But if you don't have any money, share this content and help me get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, because winter is coming, and this winter is coming. Meaning, what happens is tomorrow never comes. Eric Spencer, you are considered an elder. And what kind of practical advice would you give these young men as we're going into phase 2 of this global pandemic?
I mean, just to piggyback on what he's saying, look, the game has been exposed. You know that these women are targeting you. You know that they don't have any real love for you. They only look at you as a utility. So you know that. And all the stuff about that's my mama or your mama black, or all the other shaming, get rid of that. None of that stuff is true. Like Chris said earlier, don't believe anything they say and watch what they do, because that's going to tell you who they are. And to be honest with you, if they don't do anything to empower you, then they don't need to be around you.
Right.
That's going to be vital, because their energy is infectious. And if they're dysfunctional and stressed out, they're going to stress you out.
That's true.
And don't get so enamored with the vajayjay. That's where a lot of these guys, I think they make the mistake. You get captivated by a big butt and a smile, like BBDC used to say back in the day. But that girl poison. I mean, they were before their time. They spitting facts. These women are not here to do you any good. They're looking out for their best interest only. Not all, but the vast majority of them. So you need to, one, have standards. Two, focus on yourself. Get your mind right. Get your money right. Get your body right. Focus on what you want. Set goals. And educate yourself. And like he said, those women that don't want you now, like back then you didn't want me, now I'm hot, you all want me. Oh, that's coming. Trust me, that's coming. Well, it's here for some of these guys, but the juice ain't worth the squeeze. It really isn't. And get your passport. If you 25 and under, brother, if you don't have a passport, man, come over to the Black Man's Option. We'll get you right.
Right.
We'll get you right because we want to show you another aspect of what's available to you. Like my man was talking about Charles Tyler earlier. Man, we call him Harry Tubman because he was leading brothers to the promised land back in the day. You know, and it was unfortunate he lost his life in 2017. But you know what? That's why we're here to continue the legacy. Black Man's Option, that's what we're here for. Charles started and we picked up the ball and we're going to keep running through because young brothers need to know that this is not all you need. This is not all that's accessible to you. There's so much more that you just don't know. You don't have to put up with this. And the biggest thing I think these young dudes need to learn how to say is no. Whether that's no, now, hell no, nada, whatever it is. Tell these chicks no. And let's just be honest. They need the real. Too much stuff we've been sugarcoating. They don't mind giving us the real. Well, sweetheart, we in the age of equality. So I'm gonna get the real. Sweetheart, you don't qualify.
Right.
Your ass is too big. That height, weight, dress size, no, sweetheart. Nah, I'm sorry. You don't qualify. You don't cook, you don't clean, you don't get a damn thing from me.
Hey man, I'm gonna call you Eric Sherman. Eric Sherman on the mic. Call you Eric Sherman. Eric Sherman.
I mean, and one more thing that hasn't been brought up, and what a lot of people don't really aren't watching. You know, they're voting on making women register for selective service.
Right. Unfortunately.
No.
I have girls. My girls are not feminists. I'm talking for my girls.
Well, you're your girl,
right?
But that's the environment we have.
Right. I understand.
Our men have been putting our lives on the line for years. You couldn't get a student loan unless you were a selective service, and in some instances, you probably couldn't get a housing loan or a bank loan back in the day. You had to be registered. Well, now, guess what? Now you're going to have to start registering. See, that's what equality looks like. And these are the little things that's going on behind the scene. Oh, you want to be out here fighting in the streets? Oh, well shoot. Come on here and get the selective service. We can put you in boot camp. Since you like to fight, we're going to put your ass on the front line and see how you like them hours. See, all this stuff is happening and nobody's watching. They got you all discombobulated with the pandemic or and whatever you believe about it, but they in the behind the scenes, they're making it so now you have to register for selective service too. That means you got what you wanted, equality. We got jobs for you. It's called get in here, get the basic training, take your ass down to Fort Jackson or wherever you want to go, or Lackland. Or out to San Diego. You going somewhere and we're going to put you to work.
Uncle Sam.
Yeah, we got a job for you. You want to fight in the streets? You want to fight on Spirit Airline? Guess what? We got someplace you can fight all you want to fight and get paid for it. We got what you're looking for. So
respect. Chris Strongheart, you're a young brother. You're one of the younger guys of this group. You know, we got a bunch of old heads up in here. But actually, Mr. Gigi, he a puppet too. But me, Eric, and Gene, we long in it too. But especially Gene, 1900 edition. He's a Brown. Gene a Brown in 1911. But listen, Chris, what kind of advice would you give some of these young brothers, man? What have you learned from your mistakes in the past, and what are some of the warning signs that you can give these young men that they won't be more or less sabotaged by some of these desperate women. It's winter is coming again.
Winter is most certainly coming. And, you know, I'll basically say what I actually do tell my younger brothers is basically don't be like me, be better than me. Because when we was all younger, they was always looking up to me like, man, Chris, like, oh, I see you, you know, oh man, she cute, she this, she that, like, oh man, like you got, you know, these different girls coming around. I'm just like, bro, like, be better than me, because you don't want to go through the drama that I went through, because I also made a lot of mistakes coming up when I was dealing with women. And I would tell a lot of these young brothers nowadays is you got to get over this mindset of first one-itis and pedestalization and being a slave to the vajayjay. You got to get over all those concepts. And like Brother Gigi said, you have to learn how to embrace solitude. I mean, you have to learn how to essentially, you may not be Sigma, but you may have to learn how to embrace some of the qualities of being in your Sigma energy, meaning that you can enjoy being by yourself. You don't always need people to be around you. I mean, some of the greatest minds we know that existed in a place where they were usually loner types. They would usually get things done on their own first, and then people will follow them. Like, you know, I know for an example, I believe it was Tesla who locked himself in his apartment or his hotel room in a room, and with a stack of notebooks, he said, "No, I'm gonna figure this out." I can't remember exactly what he was trying to figure out, but I remember he was trying to figure out an exact formula for something. And he said, I'm not leaving this room until I figure this out, and I'm shutting the whole world down until I get this done. And the greatest minds, the greatest masters are always in solitude. They're always away from people. Whoever you follow, study that to you could be an ancient icon to some degree, always was able to go into solitude and come out of the darkness and then go tell the word to the people through some kind of means of however it happened, right? So there's always an aspect when in your hero's journey as a man, you need to be able to embrace solitude to some degree and also taper that need to have a woman in your life. All right. That's the biggest thing. Like our boy PJ Tucker, I believe.
PJ Washington.
PJ Washington, my bad. PJ Washington, how he got, you know, he fell victim, you know, to the situation with Brittany Renner. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, bro, like I heard that, you know, apparently he was getting told. Some stories say that he was getting told what to watch out for, because I know that in the league they get sit down briefings and all kind of stuff about the girls to look out for. And I feel like some brothers feel like they're better than that, or they know what to do. And I feel like there was an aspect where he was getting told what to look out for, which is her mentality. All right. How does she interact with you? What is her vibe when she's with you? All right. So if you get around her and she is all about herself, if you notice that she's very selfish, if she is not empathetic to your feelings, that's a big red flag. Because if you try to express something to her and she ignores it, or she doesn't care, or you'll try to talk to her and it's almost like she wants to overstep your opinion on something. Like you're just like, you know, I'm not really in the mood for this. I feel like it's better if we go here and do this. No, I really want to go here and do this and that. If you get a lot of that disagreeableness, okay, she's demonstrating what to her ranks in priority, which is herself, which that's fine, honestly, but she's showing you who she is as far as she's not worthy of being your girlfriend. And I feel like an issue that we have with young brothers, you stop elevating these women with titles of girlfriends and they're not worthy of them. It's so frustrating and annoying to hear our brothers go through all the things they're going through. And it's just like 9 times out of 10, when you talk to them, you'll see that there were big red flags before it even got to that point in that situation. She wasn't returning texts. She was talking about she has this friend that's a dude who's always around, but he don't mean nothing, or the ex-boyfriend she still talks to. I mean, if you are, you know, unfortunately are dealing with a baby mama and she's still basically talking to the baby daddy every day. I mean, you know, her mannerisms, if she has all that masculine energy, you know what I'm saying? Like the brother said, they're fighting in the streets. She's disagreeable. A lot of that masculine energy is getting young ladies in trouble nowadays. Because, like you were talking about legalization of prostitution, I say open the floodgates of chaos and let it happen, because it's going to put some act right on a lot of women who thought they were these high value tens and I don't need no mans out here. Okay, hun, let's see, put it on the wood, put a price on it. And now you're going to get your little feelings hurt because you thought you was something more than what you wasn't. When you see the real women that is out here actually who can command that kind of theater with a man to where they'll be willing to pay for it, and you sitting over here ain't making no money, that's gonna blow their egos out of the water, to where she even put herself up to be sold and could barely make money off of her own body. That's gonna really level set. And I think that's the type of cataclysmic event that has to happen to some of these young women mentally for them to understand that you need to be listening to what we've been trying to tell you the whole time. Okay. And a lot of that masculine ego want to be like men is now getting them in trouble. The chickens are coming home to roost. The bill is now due. All right. The karmic debt needs to be paid. Y'all been out here challenging men, disrespecting men, fighting men, wanting to be better than men. Fine then. You want a piece of this masculine work? Take it. Now deal with it and let's see how far you get before you realize the error of your ways. Hopefully you're not, north of 40 with 2, 3 kids, whatever, but more than likely that's what the situation is going to be. But I say let it happen. And that on the men's side of the game, that for the younger brothers, you got to get over this mindset that you have to have a girlfriend. She's not worthy of being a girlfriend, young brother. That what you should be focused on as a young man is building your resources, your mental state, your physical state, and what you want in life, and how to go out there and dominate and take it from the hands of the universe. I said, take it from the hands of the universe. You're not on your knees begging for anything. You stand up tall like a man with your chest out and say, no, I'm going for mine. I'm not begging nobody for anything. That's what you have to get over. And you don't need no woman to make it happen. You don't need to be laying up under your baby mama on her couch, living off of her. I mean, I don't really want to get too deep into somebody else's channel, but I was listening to a debate between a brother that I'm sure most of us know, BGS Moore versus I believe it was the dude Smurgo. And it just because him being a younger brother, to me, it was so disappointing to hear his mindset on the type of things that he was allowing. Some things he was kind of right about, but there was other things where he had a lot of ratchet energy about how he was moving with the women that he was dealing with. And I'm just like, brother, you are setting yourself up. You're a young man, no kids, you got the world in front of you. And what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to be yanked down by the gynocracy in the environment that we live in America. And I think for brothers like us and me, myself was a little bit older. I'm 33. So, I'm definitely, in the millennial side of the game. But my thing is that we have seen evidence of something greater. And we see where if we were y'all's age, what we could have been focused on instead of falling prey to the things that we fell prey to when we were at that age. And we see you doing it and we're trying to tell you not to do it. And it's so frustrating that you just ignore it. It's just like, you know what, bro? If you want to go out here and elevate these masculine women who don't care about you, who gonna divorce you, she treats you like crap. You know what I'm saying? She's disrespectful. She's arrogant. She's masculine. She challenges you. She don't care about your feelings. Stop showing your feelings to her.
Right.
Focus on your purpose. Focus on your purpose. Like what? But once again, we understand the climate that we live in, and I mean, like I said, give me 300. That's all we need.
That's all we need. Listen, I want to ask the next question. So if there are any women, that are actually listening, I want you guys to come in and talk about what you've experienced as it relates to this global pandemic, and what have you been hearing from your girlfriends? If there are any women listening, I'm sure it's not, but we might have a couple of spies in the house. But if there are any women listening, come and share, because this is a live Q&A. You can ask Eric some questions, Chris, Gene, or my man, Mr. Gigi, about some of the things that you guys have experienced. I want you guys to look at this real quick, because our country and world is changing. The world that we knew of yesterday will never be back the same again. And once again, the title of the show is What Would Happen If Tomorrow Never Comes? Now, once again, guys, get the likes up and donate to $7 Smalls and help me continue to grow this platform. So I want you guys to look at this. Look at this. Hold tight. Let's look at it, because our kids can barely read. and they're not going to be ready for this new age if we don't get things popping. Hold tight.
By 2050, our planet will be a vastly different place. By 2050, artificial intelligence will be everywhere. AI-driven stores will allow you to purchase goods without cashiers or waiting lines. AI will diagnose and treat patients, manage transportation, and analyze massive quantities of data. AI chatbots and voice recognition systems will sound like and behave just like real people. AI will be implemented into robots. By 2050, robot dogs and other pets will serve as companions. Robots will dominate factories and begin to serve as teachers, cooks, pharmacists, law enforcement officers, athletes, and other professionals. In 2050, universal translators will remove all language barriers, and voice recognition will be ubiquitous. Hundreds of sensors will be installed in our clothes, homes, and overall environment to monitor our well-being and improve our lives. Computing will change. By 2050, we may run on quantum computers. Based on the properties of quantum physics, quantum computers could deliver massive leaps in computing power, outstripping any current transistor-based models. AI and computers will integrate into humans. Brain chips like Elon Musk's Neuralink will treat neurological disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, spinal cord injury, and blindness. These brain chips will allow people to control computers and prosthetics with no physical interaction. By 2050, we may be controlling things with our minds and communicating through brain signals. By 2050, robotic prosthetics may be stronger and more advanced than our own biological ones. Prosthetic eyes and ears will enter the market, curing blindness and deafness. And in 30 years, like AI, virtual reality will be everywhere. People will try on clothes in virtual reality closets, and holograms will bring FaceTime to a new level. VR platforms will allow you to move around while staying still. We will be able to travel the world and experience life on other planets, all from home.
Whether you're building dynamic network models or forecasting real-world behavior, Neo4j's new
home.
All right, that's just a small snippet. Guys, what do you think about what you're seeing as technology is changing? Automation's taking over many jobs that would never come back. And once again, the topic is what happens if tomorrow never comes? Eric Spencer, when you see that, man, what comes to your mind as many of our black boys can barely read, especially with struggling rates in California? What comes to mind when you see that that futuristic prognostication?
I'd say it's scary because a lot of black boys can't compete now. Right. And you're talking about the way technology advances. I mean, they don't even have the basic foundation to get what they get now. Now you're talking about making all these advancements to compete in 2050. If you don't make a serious U-turn now and start investing in your boys, then you can forget it as far as the black community. I mean, seriously, technology in the past 30 years, I mean, when I was in the Air Force, you know, you using a USB, it was a big deal to be on a C-130 and you had a USB system on a military plane. Now you got USBs in your hand. Mm-hmm. You carry them all over the place. And that's in the last 30 years. So these boys, they just aren't equipped. I mean, and the real scary part is in the black community, it's always been about sports driven. Right. But now if I have a robot, I don't need you for that either.
That's true. Right.
You know, the funny thing was at the Olympics, they had a robot that was shooting jumpers and the robot never missed.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so if I have a robot that can shoot a jumper that never missed, then, you know, that movie Real Steel with Hugh Jackman, that's what you're going to start seeing. Because what are you going to do when I got a robot that can do what you do better and I don't have to pay them multi-millions of dollars? and I can just promote the robot instead of the person. And in our community, that's been a big thing. Oh, you know, I'm gonna go to the league and buy my mom a house. Well, you ain't a robot. That robot can make a jump shot and I don't have to pay you as much. So you can't buy your mama a house.
Right.
You know? So what other venues do you have to generate income? You don't, because you don't have a community. You don't have the financial currency or the social currency or the infrastructure to support yourself. And your warriors, you've dumbed down. And as you saw in that clip, bro, it's gonna be hell on wheels if you don't have basic understanding of what's going on. And I'm talking about a minimum of a coding, some type of coding background, because all that has to be coded.
Right.
So either you have a business that supports that, or you're gonna have to have some type of coding or STEM field to where you're gonna be in, or you're gonna have to be an entrepreneur and make money in that type of economy. And you're gonna have a certain level of intelligence, not necessarily IQ, but EQ and perseverance, and have that background to understand, like, yo, I got to be able to succeed, because now the belt is about to get real tight. It ain't gonna be about racism anymore, cause good old boy down there, he going through the same thing as the black men going through too. Now they know it's not about color anymore. We all gonna have to start competing. And with those type of jobs, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for the people that understand what's about to come, and they're going to be the new millionaires. But a lot of black people, especially black men, black boys now, are not prepared for that. They too busy worried about when the new J's coming out, or they coming from a family structure where they don't have that stability, versus you have a family structure where you're coming out of a white family or Asian family or a Hispanic family. They have that structure and they know what's coming. I mean, it is what it is. And now you talking about you still doubling down, thinking you don't need your men. Okay, well, hey, black men create the community, not black women.
Right.
So we can create a new community without you. But
Right.
you can't create another community without us.
Very true. Very true. Mr. GG, you know, STEM fields and technology is very important. And I know there's a crisis in cities like Joplin and St. Louis. What do you see in your state as you compare and contrast the readiness for some of these young black boys to compete with the growing digital community that's growing now? What do you see in Missouri?
All right. Well, thank you. I want to say that was a really interesting clip. Very interesting. First thing that come to my mind, I'm a sci-fi guy, you know, and first thing I think of was the movie Iron Man, the movie Black Panther, the movie I, Robot. I don't know if you guys seen that. And then also the back in the day Star Wars movies when those androids and I think Luke's arm got blown off and those androids came in there at the very end and repaired that man's arm. Yeah, I thought about all of that just watching that clip.
Right.
And the first thing that also came to my mind is I would not be surprised if robots came in and started replacing nurses. Not necessarily doctors, but actually nurses. And there's a majority of women now that are nursing up like hell. I am telling you, you know, for real. It's here in Missouri and also the state of Kansas, because I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, and we got access to both states. You know, we can get to both states in 5 minutes. And out here, we got a lot of chicks that's always nurses. I'm trying to get my CNA, my LPN, my RN, you know, my this is my that or whatever, right? And I've seen that clip, man, and it's like those robots can literally do circles around those type of nurses, you know, for those small jobs. But it still boils down to what I said before, and I said again, the skill trades. There's still going to be a need for someone to go under that sink, right, and unclog that drain. There's still going to be a need for that person to go inside of that electrical panel and service that panel. You know, there's going to be a need for somebody to repair that robot when that robot goes down. You understand? You know, there's still going to be a need for somebody to go out there, climb on that rooftop, though, if in the event that robot shut down, right, and actually service that air conditioning unit or that furnace. There's still going to be that need. And that's where those women are going to be in trouble at, because a lot of them are not in the manly skilled trade fields. You understand? And like Kevin Samuels was saying one day, that men, if he did a Thanos right now, boom, all the women are gone. Yeah, we'll be sad and all that stuff, whatever, but guess what? We will survive. We will survive, okay? We might have a little grudges, hatred against them, but for generations, we've always taught young how to do things that we already knew. We learned how to cooperate with each other, right? It's just been our manly survival technique. It's been like that for generations and generations, you know, before times, you know. Even there was a guy who did a video in Ghana, Africa, you know, where there was, I did not know this, but there's tribes out there, they don't live in technology. No, they actually like live in real caves and real forests out there. You know, they don't live a lick around technology at all.
Yeah.
Crazy it seems, but it's real, you know. So again, you know, it's going to take people to kind of adapt to their habitat of different things. My daughter, I'm a single father, by the way. My daughter's 12 years old. And I teach my daughter to this day that, you know, to get off that phone, get away from the screen as much as possible, because I put her in the position of what would happen if the power goes out? You know, simple things like what would happen if the vehicle breaks down? So I teach her methods of, we actually walk for miles and miles to places. I teach her how to go out there and actually, you know, play by herself, you know, or play physically in these yards, because there's going to come a time where technology is not always going to be at your grasp. So you're going to have to learn how to adapt to those particular type of circumstances, you know, because, I mean, robots can be there right now, but there's still going to be somebody there that's going to need to repair those robots. Even if there's a robot there to repair that robot, hey, there's still a person there who invented those robots that still has to repair. So that's basically my stand on it. And young men out there, if you can, please go take up a trade, go take up a field. There's a lot of education out there. So then, therefore, if you're in a position where you're working these 9-to-5 jobs, you can put yourself in a position where you can still work for yourself, because you still got something to hold on to that no one can take away, and that is your ability and your skills to serve the world.
Excellent points. Once again, guys, donate the $7 Smalls. Get the content out. Help us grow this channel as we continue to empower men. Support groups like BMO, Black Men's Options. Go support that group, because I was, you know, if I was PJ Washington's agent, I would have told him about Deacon Eric Spencer. He could have got a super chick compared to what he got, and she would have loved him and treated him well, and would have gave him a beautiful baby too. And once again, guys, listen, man, guys, I love y'all to death. But man, y'all got trick money, man. Y'all start donate to $7 Smalls.
Trick money.
Y'all got more trick money than anything. Y'all, I mean, come on, man. These numbers are low, real low today, man. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to do some COVID exorcism on some of you brothers, man. But donate to $7 Smalls. Get the likes up. Conscious Crab, you know, I saw you in that clip. You know, they were doing some kinetic energy with the mind. And so when you think about, you have a daughter, you and I both have girls. Yeah. When you think about Black boys actually having low academic standings as it relates to reading and writing scores, and you know that the STEM field requires a certain acumen as it relates to math and also science. What are your concerns as we have a faltering Black community? The Black community is dying, but also these STEM fields that a lot of our Black boys are not actually participating in. What are your concerns? As I'm sure at some point you want your daughter to have a good husband to actually marry. What are your concerns, man?
Well, I'm going to come at this from a completely different angle, just because of what I'm privy to. So I used to date a woman named Simona Tate. She went to Penn. She had a PhD from Harvard. She was the superintendent of schools of the charter school system here in New York City. And, so she was naturally connected in the education system. And she would go to these big conferences and stuff. And she came back from one and she told me that she was really upset. She told me that on a national level, that given up on they had given up on black boys, and that they were focusing all their energy. The part of the lack of
Yeah, Gene, you keep popping off, man. You had to get another server, man. I don't know where I'm going to call you Ghostface Riley, man. You got to get another server, man. You keep popping off, man. I'm going to call you Ghostface Riley. I don't know what's going on with you, dog.
Yeah, your pictures keep going up. Let me move probably closer to my Wi-Fi. So is that the education system doesn't really support black boys. The other part of the equation, I read a study once. I forget the woman.
Just hold tight, Gene. Gene, get your signal stable. You keep popping off, man. Just get your signal stable.
I'm gonna get it stable. That's why I'm moving closer to my Wi-Fi. I'm doing it way upstairs.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
I came downstairs.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, this woman, I forget her last name, but her name online is Judgy BITC. So anyway, she shared this study on black boys when they're raised by black men, by black women, and by white women. And in the study, what they found was that black boys raised by black women had the lowest levels of achievement. When they were raised by black men and white women, all the discrepancies in academic and even professional achievement disappeared. So they became competitive with white boys and Asians. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so they became competitive with whites, with Asians, and so in the study, the things that they cited was that one of the things was that black women speak to black boys about a third as much as they speak to black girls from the time they're born in their developmental years. So it's how much you speak to a child has a huge impact on their learning capabilities as they move forward. So part of the reason that black boys lag behind is because of the lack of communication from their mothers. That's one. The other thing they found was that when they do communicate, a lot of times they take out the anger that they have towards their fathers on the boys. You know, the resentment, the anger. So, that affects the boy's, his self-esteem. The third thing that they found was that there was, and this is where racism plays a part. That if a black boy comes to, first of all, if he has a problem or there's any communication need between the parent and the school administrators, if it's a black man or if it's a white woman, that they usually got better outcomes than the black woman for the son, for the black boy. And they said that was probably because of, I mean, if the black guy got the good outcomes like the white woman, I don't know how they split apart. But for whatever reason, black women were not taken as seriously and did not get the same outcomes for their boys as black men and white women. And so, these things, like when nobody talks about these things, I don't know why this study never caught on, but it plays a huge part in, because again, when you have a black man, you have a white woman raising that same boy, all those differences disappear. And now he's not only competitive academically, but even professionally moving forward into the workplace. I mean, who raised Barack Obama? You know what I'm saying? Like, who raised Barack? He wasn't raised by an African woman. And just there's disadvantages. Like, you're a clinical therapist, right? So these women who are not going in getting help for their issues are damaging their sons. I mean, basically, that's the bottom line. And that damage is manifesting itself in their ability to perform academically and professionally moving forward. That's it. And that's what I see. I mean, if you think about it, look at all these young men, right? who all this stuff that we're talking about, why are these guys simps like they're simps? Because they've been taught to pedestalize Black women by their mothers. You know, they've been taught by their moms. I mean, all this stuff that they do is the first thing I would tell a young Black man is to throw out everything. If you were raised by a single mom, throw out pretty much everything she's ever told and start over. Because that is her head, is her voice in the back of their head that's making them do this stuff. Putting them on a pedestal and you know, seeing them as not being able to do it when they're straight up lying to them and everything. You know, their moms teach them this stuff because they're trying to turn them into the simp that they always want. You know, that has to stop. So there's a lot of therapy really needed.
Well, it's not going to stop until we continue to work and talk together as men, and until they come and see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com to help them deal with that schema affliction, because a lot of them have a schema affliction, and until I teach them how to break it through thought stopping techniques, they're going to continue to spiral downhill. You know, I think we're living in very perilous times, but we're living in very exciting times at the same time. I think never before in human history have we had the opportunity as men to come together to share ideas and to more or less coalesce in what I call a virtual barbershop, just like our ancestors did in the past. Now, as men, we don't agree on all things. That's always been my preamble, but we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate when the crisis is over. I don't think this crisis is going to ever end. Like Chris said, I don't see a burgeoning new community ever happening again. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I just see it for what it is. You know, in the eyes of theology, you know, the Bible said things will wax worse and worse. And I don't see it getting any better. So, you know, everybody else want to be optimistic, go ahead. You know, I'm normally optimistic because I'm a Leo, but I don't see it getting any better. I actually see it getting worse. You know, and that's why I tell guys to be more vigilant and more or less diligent as it relates to protecting themselves. SYSBM, Save Yourself, Black Man. Eric Spencer, Deacon Eric Spencer, disciple of Charles Tyler. How are you saving yourself from the coming storm as it relates to some of these women? I know you maybe said it more or less, but I want you to be very precise, and we're going to sign off in a few minutes. And once again, guys, listen, get these likes up. I love you, brothers. Donate. $7 small. I know I sound like I'm begging. I am because I'm a bishop. Eric the deacon. Eric the deacon. Deacon Spencer. Tell these men stop paying these hoes, man. $7 small.
You got to do what's best for your mental health. So, you know.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, Eric. But how are you saving yourself, Black man? How are you saving yourself? And you said it more or less in a roundabout way, but how are you saving yourself?
I mean, if I'm saving myself by making the conscious decision that I'm not going to be able to get what I want here in the States. At my age, I've been through the gamut, and nothing is going to get better. So for me, I have to explore my options, and I have been exploring my options, and my options are getting better and better. And I'm going to continue to exercise that option till I get locked in on what I want. I will be exploring those options again November 5th through November the 12th in this November to celebrate Brother Charles Tyler's birthday, which is November the 8th. And I will be continuing that legacy of leading brothers to the promised land, the Black Man's Option. That official, if you're not a member of the Facebook group, go over to the Black Man's Option. Just look it up. Come in, join, answer all the questions. Don't be lazy and get ready. We're going back down in November, and we want to expose as many brothers as we can to opportunities abroad. And for myself, I just have to come to the conclusion. I've already came to the conclusion. There's no ill will. I don't want to put any negative energy out here. I know it is what it is. And I have accepted that for me to get the family that I want, with the cooperative, feminine, fun, fit, fornicating, cooking woman, I'm going to have to go overseas. That's just the bottom line. There's no reason for me to be sacrificing my diet and all the other things to be dealing with substandard women. I'm just not going to do it. You know, and it's It's basic. It's basic nature. Men are attracted to feminine, fit women.
Right.
Personality aside, we have to be able to approach it. We have to see something to entice us, and I just don't see anything that I want. So I'm going overseas.
Right. I want to thank my man Ty Maynard Cutler for your time to Cash App. He's a Leo like me, so he's showing love, brother. So Ty, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you for donating. We got to get together at some point and hit the southern shores of Maryland. I'll meet you up in Maryland. You come from New York. But Chris Strongheart, you are a millennial. Chris Strongheart is a millennial. And I call you the conscious crab. 2.0 Gene is number one. He's a crab. But Chris Strongheart, how are you saving yourself, black man? Tell the brothers how you're saving yourself. And thanks again, Tom Maynard Cutler, for that timely donation. Thank you, brother. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, to really just piggyback off of what Eric was saying, I mean, for me, it's about understanding that my best options are outside of this country, and I have no guilt, remorse, doubt, or shame in saying that and acting on that, and I'm doing everything within my wherewithal to achieve that goal of being able to consistently live overseas and enjoy that lifestyle. I exercise, those options by, saving myself by not accepting the drama that is going on in the States. I just reject it from my subconscious. I don't let it get to my subconscious. I don't let myself feel like I have to deal with these type of women that are here, which is why I don't care to fight with them. I don't care to debate with them.
Right.
I don't have time to deal with women who are not on my time.
Right.
The arrogancy and the masculinity are something that I'm over. I'm above it. I'm over it. I'm better than that. And I don't have time to deal with you and your kids and your baby daddy.
Right.
I don't care. I don't care how fit she looks. I don't care how good she thinks she is, because I know I can find 3 times as better in any country that I want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Because the thing is, and what I like about travel is that there's a level set to it. This is why you have brothers who travel and brothers who don't, because there's a level. Because some brothers who can't get there have pending reasons why they can't get there. Some are self-inflicted. Now, some are understandable, but some are self-inflicted because of the choices that you made. Just like we'll get on women and say, hey, you're reaping what you've sown, for some of our brothers who can't travel, but then they want to in turn hate on brothers who travel, and they have never been any of the places that we've been to, and they'll try to categorize us and tell us who and what we are when they have no idea the situation. For those brothers, I have no remorse as well. You are in the situation that you are in because you chose to be where you are. I'm sure there was at some point in life where you had a decision to not deal with that type of girl and get yourself in that situation to where you can't get your passport because you owe child support. I'm saying now you can come out of that hole if you are driven enough, because usually there's a level to where a brother can get out of that hole. Okay. He can get out of that hole and explore those options and get himself to where he can eventually work to get to where he wants to be, to get a passport if he chooses to. Problem is, most people are lazy and they don't want to work. Once again, 300 only, the rest let them fall. So my thing is that I also exercise, my mindset with staying on top of my game, staying in the gym, keeping my mind clear of negative energy, negative emotions. Like I said, I just don't deal with it. Not valuing other people's opinions that are not in line with my goals and perspective, or my ambitions and drives. I mean, if we're on 2 different wavelengths, I have no words for you. Once again, there's nothing much to really need to be said. We don't sit at the same table. All right, we're not on the same wavelength. We're not going down the same pathway. Therefore, I'm gonna let you go your own way and do what it is that you have to do.
Right.
Also, another way I exercise SYSBM is, staying invested with stocks, being an entrepreneur and building my own business, making moves and strives to be the best I can at my business right now. Like I said, strongart.com, that is where I have my business comes through, where you can see my work. Same name at Instagram, Chris Strong Art with a Z. Check me out on Instagram if you're looking to get in contact with me. I also operate through Fiverr. I have that option as well. Right. And I work with clientele, and I give people the best product that I can based off of what their vision is, and I bring that to the physical form. Like I said, I'll pull somebody's idea from the ether and bring it down to this third dimensional reality. That's what strong art is all about. That's how I do, and that's what I'm doing. So, I mean, I exercise SYSBM in everything that I do. And for those who want to work with me and understand this path that we walk as SYSBM brothers, we're willing to work with you. But if you feel like you're better than, you judge, you hate, and all this other stuff, well, the doors are closed. And we're out here. Hey, the ark is closed. I mean, when the flood happens, you're gonna be caught up in the cataclysm or not. Get on board if you choose. But if you make the conscious decision to say that you want to stay here and fight for this territory that you don't even own, you want to gang bang on that block and feel like that's your hood that you don't own, not a brick on that street. Because when it come time for them to, clean it up and say, hey, we got to move you up out of this house, all yo holding that frame and being such a thug ain't gonna get you nowhere. It's over and it's a wrap. So I would say to brothers, exercise those options, because we've all been gifted with those same options at some point, and your choices is lead to where you really want to be. And the understanding that, I mean, this SYSBN movement, you could be a part of it, but don't let your arrogance and ego get in the way. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's being for life, bro. That's what we do.
No doubt. Respect. Mr. Gigi, you're a young buck like Chris. You look like you're in your late 30s, mid 30s. How are you saving yourself as a young black man? How are you saving yourself? And we're going to sign off in a few minutes. It's about 5 minutes after the hour, 12 o'clock. We're going to sign off in a few minutes. Eric, make sure you collect them tithes from the brethren. Dustin nigga got the spirit of Linus. Chris, I'm going to get you to make me a shirt called the spirit of Linus. They're being dusted tonight.
Got it. We'll get it done.
But and also, Chris, look, you know what we were talking about in private, man. Let me know about that design, man, because I'm ready to get it popping, man. All right.
Okay.
The design we talked about. The second one, you know what we talked about in private.
Second, I got you second because the first one's done. We got that.
Right. So we got to work on that. All right, Mr. Gigi.
Yeah.
How are you saving yourself? And we're gonna sign off in a few minutes. And thank you guys to the guys that have watched this show. I'm honored. I'm grateful. Once again, to the ones that can give, do it. The ones that can't, share the content. I'm forever grateful. Mr. Gigi, how are you saving yourself as a young black man?
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, thank you. I had to step out from time to time, man, because you got me moderating. So, I'm doing my thing.
Doing your thing. Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. The way I'm saving myself is I'm still maintaining in my real estate business. I'm actually teaching students how to buy houses with no money out of pocket, no cash, no credit, in 5 different ways. And then also, too, we launched a new program called Surplus Funds, which is a $18 billion industry where we actually assist individuals who actually would get a large list, and we find these individuals and let them know that, hey, they have funds, they don't know about for a fee. Some of these guys are owed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we charge them as low as 10%, anywhere from 10 to probably 40%. And these people are happy about it. So it's a very lucrative industry. Another field in real estate, I really love it. It's really one of my passions. Non-competitive, not saturated. I'm telling you this. So, but anyway, but that's one of my deals that I'm actually using to fulfill my happiness. Another thing is, like I was saying before, I stay alone, and keep myself around positive and uplifted-minded people. I actually got addicted, man, to the Charles Tyler show. I was asleep on this man, super asleep, to the point, man, almost every night, man, before I go to bed, man, I'm just playing his videos like on repeat. And I'm hearing these dudes like, who's this Al Grease dude? And who's this Eric Spencer? I'm like hearing this Eric Spencer guy like a lot, man. I said, and yeah, like for real, like it was like the dude just kept repeating. And then there was a troll video he had. He went in on the troll video and the expat video. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. And then he said that every year he threw an actual celebration in Brazil called a beach party. And I said, where's the beach party? I want to go. I'll go this year if they're still throwing it. And I was under the impression that, boom, the channel was dead or whatever, but I started doing some snooping around and boom, I found myself in a Facebook group a couple months ago. And yeah, that's where it's at, but if there's more information about there, I would really love to go. I would also like to donate, to not only his channel, but his cause. But now, yeah, I'm a new fan of that. And then also the travel movement. And this man's channel too, I bumped into this guy's channel. I really like the content so much, and yeah. And I set up here and I said that I was running to more and more guys who actually were crypto guys and guys on the stock market. That's not my game. And I come in there as an old school real estate guy, from the older game. And they're like, man, we've never seen this before or whatever. And I'm like, dude, it's like hundreds of videos, on YouTube. You can learn anything about real estate, man. But, back on topic though, basically, and I tell these guys this, man, know your purpose in life. Focus on your self-improvement. We teach in the Red Pill community, right? Do the work. You have to do the work, okay? Don't let these females be a product of your life. A woman is there to complement you and not to destroy you. You understand that? You shouldn't have to need a female. You should be in a position where you want her, okay? She should be a helpmate and not someone who's trying to self-sabotage the relationship or sabotage you. You understand? Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if you break up with that woman or she ends up leaving you, you have to go back to focusing on what you were focusing on, which was yourself before she even got in the picture. A lot of these guys get what we call one-itis, and soon enough, they're blowing up this chick's phone. They're, knocking at the door, trying to kick her down, man. Forget that stuff, man, okay? Get your passport, like Charles Tyler said, and travel. Get your passport like Master Teacher said, and travel. Get your passport like Black Man Travels channel said, and travel. There's lots of women around the globe, okay? The globe, okay? I personally have been fed up with North American women. These guys tell me, well, I'm tired of women in America. I tell them, hey, no, this is North America. North America. Big difference between that and South America and Central America. So again, please, brothers, if I can encourage you out there, get your passports, get your money together, whatever marketing niche you're in, whatever money-making niche you're in, master it, kill it, and get your passport and travel. And that's all I have to say.
Respect. Real quick, Conscious Crab, because we know you're a Baptist preacher. You long-winded. Oh no, you're Pentecostal. You're a Pentecostal preacher. But Conscious Crab, how would you tell these young men to save themselves as we're about to sign off in this timely show called "What Happens If Tomorrow Never Comes"? Go ahead, Gene, real quick.
I mean, the thing is basically what everyone has said here and what I'm doing myself. So my last relationship was 2 years ago. And since then, I've just focused on myself, on my training, on my diet, on my meditation, on my mental well-being, on my business. I'm focused on those things. And it's interesting when you focus on those things and you ignore women come looking for you. So but you just gotta ignore them. Like you can't let, and to the point that the brother made about being alone. If you look at any great inventor, every last one of them talk about the power of being alone. So I'm alone most of the time. Like I have my clients that I train, my daughter, and that's about it. I don't really hang out with anybody. I don't go anywhere with anyone. I don't do anything with anyone. I stay to myself and I focus on me. I'm not trying to have another relationship here. I get these offers, I consider them, but ultimately what I want is not here. So
right,
I'm going overseas like the rest of these brothers,
Right.
Options are just better.
Well, for
And
y'all,
that's what I would recommend to these young guys.
Right.
Focus on themselves and expect better than just what's right in front of you. There's better options elsewhere. And it's it's easy to travel. It's not like it's an impossibility.
No doubt. Yeah, man, I'm glad you got close to your mother, man. I'll start to call you what's the name of that guy? God, man, Ghostface Rider. I'm like, where the world I do that? But you call you Ghostface Rider. You kept popping in and out. In less than 2 seconds, less than 2 minutes, in less than 2 minutes, we're gonna sign off, guys. Chris Strongheart, less than 2 minutes. How was the show beneficial for you as we talk about what happens if tomorrow comes as we're encroaching the second phase of this pandemic?
Well, I think it's very beneficial for like-minded brothers to come together and discuss things from different points of view, because we're at different parts in the country right now, and it's good for us to be able to come together and acknowledge what's really going on, and then have a place, like you said, the digital barbershop, to where we can disperse ideas and decompress from the things that are going on. Because like you being the kosher clinician, being in the field of mental health, it is very therapeutic even to have this type of forum to where brothers and men can speak, which is like one of the overarching tenets of the red pill. Is it's a place for men to speak, freely, without the repercussions of some woman's feelings.
Right.
Because we're in a society to where you have to be mindful of what she's gonna think and how she's gonna me too, and you run tell and have all these different things. But this is very therapeutic in itself, because this is a man's space, and men can come here and talk freely. So it's all good health.
I'm honored by it, Chris, because it's similar to what we call in clinical therapy. We call it group therapy, or what I call a group catharsis, where men are actually molding their emotions as it relates to the pain of the past and the current they've struggled with. So I count on the honor. That's why I started the Manhood Chronicles, where men tell their story, but also the coach and clinician, as I look at things from a clinical perspective to help dissect and more or less help reduce that schema affliction that a lot of men are having. Deacon Eric Spencer from the 704. We could have got PJ Washington saved and got him on a plane to Brazil, but he didn't believe that the fat meat was greasy either, poor boy. He about to find out now. Deacon Eric Spencer, in less than 2 minutes, how was this show beneficial to you? And listen, I want to personally thank you, man. You always come through. You true to form, Scorpio. I gotta get some healing off for you, man. Because I know you're gonna let the devil use you in November, and that's Halloween too. But real quick, Eric, how was this so beneficial to you? What happens if tomorrow never comes? Real quick, 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes.
Well, like I said, it was beneficial to me because, like I said, these things need to happen. We've talked about it before. There is a very big need for mental health because a lot of Black men have been subjected to PTSD, being a part of this Black community or Black gynocracy. And the only way that we're going to heal is to heal each other. We're not going to get any help from anybody else. So it's up to brothers, to like-minded brothers, to heal each other. And these shows are beneficial because it lets you know that you're not by yourself. You're not alone. You can get support. You can be around like-minded brothers, and you can get through this. So these shows are beneficial. That's why I come up here and I do them, because mental health is a taboo thing in the Black community, but especially amongst Black men. You don't have to be holding it in. There's places like this where you can come and speak to brothers, and that's what we're about: real brotherhood, the Black Men's Option. Charles Tyler, BMO, Coach Greaves, Ralphie, the whole skit. Yo, we there for you, and we it's not just talk. Chris and Seven will tell you, we back it up.
We back it up, right?
Real brotherhood.
Right. We're genuine. Some of these guys, unfortunately, in this space have ulterior motives. I'm not going, but it is what it is. But what I'm doing is genuine. You're not going to find too many clinical therapists that are in this space that can break it down the way I do. Mental health is more important than anything anybody else is talking about, because a lot of those guys are giving their perspective based on what they think. I'm giving you a perspective based on what I've been trained to do, but also based on what I've learned over a span of time. And so once again, guys, if you like what we're doing, please donate $7 Smalls. Share this content. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers, man, because the winter is coming. It's about to come in less than 4 months. And I don't want to see anybody jumping off bridges, killing themselves, not being prepared, not knowing how to interact because nobody warned them. I want to do everything in my power to warn these men, especially these young men, because many men have went to the grave with visions, and also with burdens that they didn't share with anybody. They suffered in silence, and now the grave is holding their secrets. Mr. GG, in less than 2 minutes, what did you get from this show? I can't believe my moderator on the show and chopping over the brothers. Mr. GG, what did you get from this show real quick, brother, in less than 2 minutes?
Well, there was one thing that you really mentioned that's really powerful, and I really liked is that it's about psychological therapy and psychological counseling. You know, I pressed it strongly, even with women and interaction with people I know, and some of them take offense to it. Some of them are really receptive to it, but I'm telling you, that psychological counseling and psychological therapy is one of your biggest assets to your mental health. If your mind is not right to be able to think and function in everyday life, you're not going to survive out there, man. And if you're in front of a professional like yourself, sir, right, or any professional out there, doesn't have to necessarily be this person, right, that's willing to help you, don't look at the cost. Look at it as an investment in yourself of self-improvement. You understand? We teach in real estate that, hey, you know, don't look at the cost, just look at the investment in order for you to be able to monopolize and make more money than you thought you would with no money. You see where I'm at? So I tell people again, you know, psychotherapy, psychological counseling is very, very important. And that's something that I really learned from this channel. I also learned too from today's lesson also that collaboration also is key, and be able to, if you can, put yourself in a situation where you can actually express yourself freely and you're not necessarily alone. As long as you got a good community of like-minded individuals within either the red pill manosphere, the travel manosphere, black pill, no pill, it doesn't matter, right? Or in your case, the psychological manosphere, right? Then people can be able to actually hear you out and share their stories, just like they can relate to your stories.
No doubt.
I used to be that guy. I used to be that guy thinking I was the only guy that was going through this. No, like I told you before, there was guys from the cuts from other states just telling me, hey, they've been with women for 20 years. These women left them lickety split. To, if instead of women leaving them, these women would abuse them. These women would con them out of money, all types of just stuff, man. And these guys actually were very successful, very successful. So anyway, that was my thoughts. Thank you so much. And also, and Eric, one day I'd like to know more information about the beach party, though, if that information is still vital.
I'm posting it today, August 1st. It's going up today, and I'm going to tell you just like this.
Okay.
We're only going to hold about 30 slots, and we already got 17 slots already.
Okay.
So we come out 13 to 14 people, and I haven't announced it in the group yet. So
wow. Okay. Yeah. So it's not 300. It's not 300 people, right?
No. It's not 300. No, it's not 300. Okay. We can't have that many. But trust me, I'm about to put it in the group. So when he drop, I got you locked in, brother.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, I'll mention my name on there. It might pop up as another name on there, but you'll see my face on there and everything.
Gotcha.
All right.
I'm already in your group.
In less than 2 minutes, Consecrate. Less than 2 minutes. Under 2 minutes. We got to go, bro. It's late. It's late. In less than 2 minutes, man, because you, like I said, you're a Pentecostal. So in less than 2 minutes, what did you get out of the show? How was it beneficial, brother? Real quick.
Well, I mean, I think it's beneficial just from the standpoint of, you know, most times when Black men talk, it's filtered through the matriarchy and the gynocracy, whether it's women trying to control the narrative or simps currying favor with women trying to control the narrative. So it's really good to see Black men express themselves unfiltered, you know, not the back and forth with the simps, manginas, the community eunuchs, and the emotional tampons. You know, it's just brothers talking, you know, men talking, and without any of the other bullshit. So excuse my French, BS.
Right.
It gives guys an opportunity to actually hear something very different from what they hear on the day-to-day, which is everything is through that filter.
No doubt. Well, I've got, oh, how good it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. That's what I've got. And once again, I'm dedicated to take this channel as far as I can take it before restrictions more or less bring it down. And also what I got from this channel is what I always say, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. We're about to sign off. And once again, thank you for this Time Fest show. We'll see you guys on next week. Be well.